Okay. I declare the meeting of the City Council open. This hybrid meeting is being conducted on a multi-locational basis in accordance with the Local Government and Election of Wales Act and the arrangement for multi-location meetings agreed by Council, which will operate alongside the Council's standing orders to ensure that we continue to take democratic decisions in an open and transparent manner. Please note that today's meeting is being filmed for live and subsequent broadcast by way of the Council's internet site. The images and sound recordings may be used for training purposes within the Council. As you will see from the agenda papers, generally the public seating areas are not being filmed. However, by entering the meeting room and using the public seating area, you are consenting to being filmed and to possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting and for training purposes. As well as being broadcast live, a recorded version will be available on the Council website about 24 hours after the meeting. Would all those members present in the Council chamber please use their microphones to contribute to the meeting, and please remember to speak clearly into the microphone and to switch off the microphone when you are finished. Can I request that you all switch off your cameras and mute your microphones when you are not speaking? These are the people that are on remote. To ensure that there is no unnecessary background noise and to help with the audio and visual quality of the broadcast. The Council standing orders and code of conduct will apply at all times. During this hybrid meeting, in the same way as ordinary meetings, they should conduct themselves accordingly. Members joining remotely are reminded that the use of the online chat function during the meeting is not permitted. For the benefit of anyone watching on live stream, when I invite members to cast their vote remotely on any particular item, they will do so by raising their hand with their cameras switched on, so that we can see the visibility for the duration of that vote. There will be a pause while the votes are being counted. Please do not switch off your cameras until I have asked you to do so, as this will make it difficult to count the votes. For those members present in the Council chamber, the vote is in the same way of the show of hands. I move on now to item 1, apologies. I have apologies from Jane Mudd, Councillor Jane Mudd. There's a possibility of Mark Spencer and Paul Bright might be a little bit late for the meeting. Declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest?
Yes, Chair. Pwyllgor Primary School, item 8.
Can you stand, please?
I sit on the governing body for Pwyllgor Primary School,
yeah.
And that's item 8.
Yeah.
And also just to clarify that the ward councillor for Pwyll,
okay.
And it's mentioned through the report, throughout the report.
Okay, thank you. I move on now to MP's announcements. The police will not be coming. They've sent their apologies, so there'll be no police matters being discussed this evening. Okay, right, we move on now to item 2, the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there a proposer to those minutes? A seconder? All those agree? Sorry, I didn't realise. I thought you were saying agreeing. No, can you change the mic, please? Someone's coming to do that, right?
Thank you.
Right.
Could I make a point of personal explanation with regards to the last meeting, presiding member? At the last council meeting, sorry, dodgy mic.
If this doesn't work, you can't speak, all right?
Right. At the last council meeting, during a very heated debate, I challenged a point made by the leader because I believe the facts needed to be clear for everyone in the chamber. I've since been told my intervention came across as suggesting the leader was deliberately misleading the council, and I'd like to put on record that that wasn't my intention. We may have political differences, but I do have respect for the leader and for the roles that we all play here as members. My aim was simply to ensure accuracy in what was a very highly emotive discussion. We've worked constructively together in the past for the benefit of the new board, and I'll expect that we'll continue to do so in the future, and I just wanted to put that on record. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we all appreciate that. Right, okay then. So we move to the vote then the minutes of the last meeting, please? All those in favour?
Sorry, Presiding Member. Just
Sorry?
Before you move it, just want to page number 21. There's a slight error in the minutes. It says the tournament, which the cabinet member responsible for sports refers to Scorpion, and it says Scorpion Taxi rather than Scorpion FC. So I just wanted that amended for the purpose of the minutes, if that's okay, before we move it. Thanks.
If there's no objections to that, then the Democratic Services team can amend that, and the minutes can be approved subject to that amendment.
Okay, everybody with that. So can we move to the vote then now, please? All those in favour? Right. Thank you very much. As I said before, there is no police matters now. We move to appointments. Councillor Clark, will you give the appointments, please?
Yes, thank you, Presiding Member. I'm standing in for Councillor Spencer. This is in two parts. The first part is the appointments in front of you I'd like to move. If I get a seconder, please. And the second part is a verbal, and to be noted only, a verbal appointment that Councillor Rheoli to replace Councillor Reeks as Chair of the Performance Scrutiny People Committee. Thank you.
Sorry. Oh, right. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. Can we? All those in favour? Any against? Did well there, Councillor Rheoli. Right, we move on now to item 5. Pleased to invite Councillor. Oh, it's not Councillor, is it? Sorry, it's Don Reid, who is the Vice Chair of the Governance and Audit Committee Annual Report. Don, please.
Can I just ask, do you want me to stand, or am I okay sitting?
Whatever's comfortable for you.
Okay, because I've got very short legs. So, anyone who can't see me, they're lucky. Well, I'm sorry you stuck with me. I can't believe that Gareth turned down the opportunity not to come and went on a cruise instead. But, you know, so you've got the Vice Chair, so many apologies. Presiding Member, I'm pleased to present to the Council the annual report of the Newport Governance and Audit Committee, which looks at the work undertaken by the committee in the year 24-25. The Governance and Audit Committee is responsible for ensuring robust financial control, effective risk management and strong corporate governance within the Council, as set out in the Local Government Wales Measures 2011 and the Local Government and Election Wales Act 2021. During the period, the committee, which comprises of 3 lay members and 6 elected members, we met 6 times during this period, with all the meetings held on a hybrid basis and fully quorate. The key activities that we did during the year was regularly reviewing the internal and external audit reports, financial statements, risk management arrangements, and the Council's Treasury strategies. The committee considered the reports and recommendations from Audit Wales and other regulators, ensuring the Council responded effectively to external scrutiny. During this period, the committee approved the internal audit plan, monitored audit performance, scrutinised both internal and external audit findings, and also called in service areas with limited or unfavourable audit opinions because we needed them to provide updates on corrective actions, ensuring accountability and obviously continuous improvement. Throughout the year, the committee monitored the Council's risk management processes and shared recommendations with Cabinet. The committee also reviewed and endorsed the Council's Statement of Accounts and Treasury Management reports, ensuring compliance and value for money. The committee considered and made recommendations on the annual governance statement, ensuring it reflected the Council's governance arrangements and areas for improvement. Finally, the committee conducted a self-assessment of the committee's skills and identified some further training areas, including counter-fraud and risk management. In conclusion, the committee delivered its work plan in line with its terms of reference, providing assurance that the Council's governance, risk and control arrangements are sound. The Committee remains committed to continuous improvement and best practice in government. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Committee members for their work during this period and look forward to delivering the work programme of the Committee during 25-26.
Thank you very much, Dan. Is there a seconder? Proposed and seconder, please.
Happy to second that.
Bev and Ray Mogford. Right, all those in favour, please show. Any against? No abstentions, I don't think. I think that's carried. Okay, thank you very much. Can I thank Don for making that presentation this evening, and thank you and the committee for all the work you do. Thank you very much. Right, we move on now to item 6, notice of motion opposing Labour's digital ID scheme, proposed by Councillor Mogford.
Thank you, Presiding Member. The motion is about digital ID, as you state. Council notes the recent announcement by Keir Starmer's Labour government of plans to introduce a mandatory digital ID scheme for all UK residents. Council further notes that the government's plan has the adverse potential to require every resident to obtain a digital ID to access public services and entitlements, risk criminalising millions of people, particularly older people, those on lower incomes, or those without access to digital technology, result in an estimated 4.6 billion of taxpayers' money being wasted on a massive IT project which has no clear benefit or safeguards. Will do nothing to address the real priorities facing communities, such as the lack of economic growth that our country is facing, the cost of living crisis that residents in Newport are experiencing, or the problems within public services that have been refused the investment that they need to deliver, raising significant privacy and civil liberty concerns for the residents of Newport that this Council would have to deal with at some level going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mogford. Councillor Rheoli is seconded.
I formally second the motion and reserve the right to speak later in the debate.
Thank you. Any other leader?
Thank you, Presiding Member. I wish to move a motion to that. I move amendments to that motion, which I'm happy to circulate with colleagues with track changes so people can see what's changed. We don't want a repeat of what happened at last council, do we?
Point of order. Do I have the right to speak to the motion before the amendment or not?
Yes, you do. Yeah, he's talking about the amendment. You're talking about the amendment, aren't you?
No, I'm talking about the substantive motion. Do I get to speak to the... I read the motion. Do I get to speak to it or not?
The amendment now, isn't it?
Right.
He's raised an amendment now, isn't he? If amendment is seconded,
yeah, can I help with this, Presiding Member, because I think there's a bit of confusion. Councillor Mogford has read out his motion, and I think we all thought that was Councillor, but bear with me, we all thought that was Councillor Mogford's comments on it. I think what you're now saying is that that was just you reading it out and not your speech on it.
I believe that standing orders state that you cannot make a speech until the motion's been seconded, but I take advice from you.
There's a speech to propose the motion, so the proposer will give a speech to introduce the motion. The seconder then has a right to do so, and then there is a debate on it. My advice to the Presiding Member would be, if you wish to give a speech to the motion that you've proposed, that you'd be allowed to do that now.
Thank you. And do I have a time limit that you can declare?
7 minutes.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. My position is I strongly oppose the proposed National Digital Identification System, hereafter the Brit card. on security, public safety and civil liberty grounds. The detrimental effect of consolidated risks and potential societal shift introduced by such a system far outweighs any stated convenience benefits, such as the simple concept of establishing a right to work. I'll go through a list of points that covers my other concerns. So, extreme centralisation of high-value identity data. This project would aim to centralise some of the most sensitive personal attributes citizens possess. Centralised data of this nature represents a single high-impact target for criminal and political groups, hostile states and indeed insiders' compromise. A successful breach would result in nationwide identity exposure with long-lasting consequences that cannot be easily mitigated or reversed. No cybersecurity programme can credibly guarantee perpetual safety of data. ISO IEC 27001 emphasises the importance of asset management and the need to identify and protect information assets. Centralising high-value data into a single repository contradicts those principles by creating a single point of failure. By becoming the primary access key from services such as healthcare, welfare, banking and travel, the BRIT card becomes a single point of failure. In practice, once compromised, an individual could suffer identity theft across multiple domains simultaneously. Replacement processes would be slow, complex and burdensome, leaving citizens vulnerable, and this represents significantly more harm than the loss of a physical document. High likelihood of feature creep or mission creep from the project. Digital ID, once established, will invariably result in feature creep. History has shown this. Often incremental, poorly communicated and difficult to reverse. The very existence of a universal identity token enables expansion into employment screening, behavioural tracking, financial monitoring, travel login, etc., etc. This materially threatens civil liberties and public trust. The expansion of the system use beyond its original purpose raises many concerns about privacy and civil liberties. Insufficient structural oversight. Even with strong internal policies, without a truly independent regulator empowered to audit, enforce and sanction, there is substantial risk of misuse, overreach and inadequate breach transparency. Government self-regulation in this domain is insufficient. Insider risk and human error. Modern cyber incidents are often initiated internally, maliciously or accidentally by privileged insiders. A single misconfigured access control, coerced administrator or rogue employee could compromise the entire system at a national scale. Civil liberties and surveillance concerns. Cross-referencing identity data with transactional logs and service usage and behavioural patterns could result in surveillance-like outcomes undermining the privacy rights citizens expect and have been used to. Digital exclusion and public safety impact. Mandatory digital systems risk excluding older adults, low-income households and residents in areas with poor connectivity. Exclusion from identity verification can escalate into safeguarding failures, which can exacerbate vulnerabilities, leaving citizens unable to access essential services. Many people do not own or wish to own the required assets that allow access to the digital ID, in particular smartphones. Many people do not have the ability or desire to be mandated into line. In fact, a recent petition has had over 3 million, just about 3 million people log their concerns and vote against the ID. And in Newport, I think it's about 5% of the population have said this as well. Long-term operational costs. The highest cost of digital identity is not deployment, but continuous maintenance, upgrading and cyber defence. The ongoing cost of securing, monitoring and maintaining a national digital identity system is significant. Underfunding over time is highly probable, and would degrade safety and other concerns. In conclusion, digital identity systems, when poorly scoped or insufficiently overseen, can introduce risks that are difficult to contain, expensive to remediate and impossible to fully reverse. The BritCard proposal consolidates national-level threat exposure in a manner that should not be taken lightly. Rushing through the system would be premature and potentially harmful to public safety, privacy and security. This Council, on the grounds raised above, should oppose the implementation of the BritCard scheme and actively confirm its concerns that affects the residents of Newport. As I previously stated, some 5% of Newport residents have signed a petition opposing digital ID, and this will only go up as people become more aware of the downsides. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rheoli, do you still want to second it?
I haven't changed my mind. I formally second the motion.
I've only given you the opportunity.
Presiding member, thank you so much.
Right. Right, the floor is open now. Leader, you want to speak, I believe?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I wish to move an amendment to the motion as put by Councillor Mogford. I did circulate papers. I don't know how far they've got or they've got to the side. So some should contain track changes as well. As I mentioned earlier, people can then see what's changed. So thanks, Councillor Mogford. It's an important debate, and there are definitely people who are concerned, and those concerns are serious, and they should be taken seriously as well. But it's also important to inform the public accurately and not misinform them. And I feel in this chamber, in this institution, we should accurately inform what is taking place and what is proposed, which is what my amendments do. For example, the mandatory need to use such a scheme is only if you want to have the right to work, which is explicitly done to deter illegal immigrants working in this country. So it's an interesting position from the Conservatives, who are now weak on immigration, which is an about turn that I don't know when that happened, but it happened recently. So this is an attempt to curb illegal migrants working in our economy and undermining British workers, which happens in Newport. So I'm surprised the Conservatives are against that. And also, I think, well-intentioned, although it is, Councillor Mogford, and misinformed, I'm afraid to say he is, on many of those issues, which will be elaborated further on. But one of the ones which worries me the most is a failure to understand how our systems work now. So, Councillor Mogford talked about cybersecurity and the possible loss of personal data if that system is compromised. Absolutely, all our personal data is in the cloud now. It's all in the cloud. Everything you do, everything any of us do, is already in a cloud system that can be subject to attack. It's not in a specific systems. Those systems don't exist anymore. Everything is moved into a cloud system. That technological change happened in the last 5 years. Why do you think data centres are being built all across not only this country, but all across the globe? Anytime someone uses ChatGPT or any other AI product, that is all personal information being recorded, stored in the cloud, and is subject to anyone trying to access this if they break that system. This is not a bespoke, standalone system, which I think this motion seems to be talking to a 2006 proposal by, I think, then the Blair government. Technology has far moved on. Councillor Mogford talks about worries about transaction and civil liberties. Well, I know Councillor Mogford and many of us do, including myself, use social media. They scrape our data, use our personal data, sell our personal data all the time, those social media companies. How do you think they make money? They transact and track everything we do, including our credit scores and transaction. So I'm afraid we have to be, it's incumbent on us to inform the public accurately and not misinform, hence the amendments. Thank you, Presiding Member.
Point of order.
What's the point of order?
I read out the motion.
Yeah.
I was given I haven't read this. Could the leader actually tell us exactly what the amended motion is? Read it out.
It's right in front of me. You can read, I presume. It's right in front of you.
There's no requirement for the motion or any amendment to it to be read out. I would suggest that the presiding member allows a 5-minute. But I would first suggest that we see if there's a seconder for the amendment.
Yeah. So we give all agreed with council, and we give 5 minutes then for them to read. All right.
We're going into recess then.
Well, you haven't got to move your seats. What I'm just saying, you've got 5 minutes to read the.
Well, we need to.
No, can I just say,
okay.
This is 5 minutes to read what Councillor Mogford was concerned about. So we're giving you 5 minutes now to read that amendment, okay? Did you? Oh, sorry, Councillor Horton. Right, okay then. Those who want to speak on the amendment then? Yeah.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Obviously, I'm seconding the motion. And why? Because it's about standing up for the people of Newport. The claims made in the original motion are built on misinformation and speculation. I mean, did you get them from Facebook, your facts? Because...
Councillor Corlin, can you address the chair?
Of course I can.
She asked me a question, which is inappropriate.
No.
It sounds like these facts came from Facebook, or at best, an AI hallucination that wasn't fact-checked. We sit here as representatives of the public. People voted for us because they trust us. We have a duty not to circulate misinformation, yet what the Tories have put to the Council today, and I say this with concern, is, to be blunt, poorly researched and nothing more than misinformation and speculation. But what really troubles me is that the loudest voices in this room, threatening in this chamber about digital ID and defending civil liberties and where their data is going to go or not, are the same people who already carry around Apple, Samsung and Huawei phones that have biometric scans of their faces on and their thumbprint. And you know what? The other day I looked a couple of you up on social media, on the internet more widely. One councillor in this room, within 2 minutes, I'd found their full name, their wedding anniversary, their full date of birth and their home address and a picture of their house in 2 minutes. And you're worried about digital ID when you've already got all that information floating about all over the internet. So let's be honest with ourselves. You've already handed out far more personal information through your phones and online and social media than any proposed digital ID scheme would ever require. And I'll bet none of you read a single privacy policy before doing it. And I'm not judging, because I have definitely done the same, as have most of us in this chamber. Current information that's available says that digital ID that's proposed will hold your name, your date of birth, your nationality or residency status and a photo. The consultation that's due to be launched will explore if it needs to include your address too. It's nothing more that's already on your passport, or for some, that's already floating around on the internet, freely available to anyone. And since we're on the subject of this information, Councillor Mogford shared a Guido Fawkes article on his Facebook page on the 27th of October that stated very clearly that no costings exist yet for digital ID because the government hasn't finalised the design. The article he shared, and I'm not friends with him on Facebook, so this is publicly available, quotes the Department of Science and Information Technology directly, saying no decisions have been made on the technical design and delivery of new digital ID. The government will be launching a public consultation on the build, costs and delivery of the programme later this year. Yet, they still came to this room and claimed that it's going to cost £4.6 billion. That figure is 15 years old from a scrapped project, a number we know is wrong, and they put it in anyway. And to correct another piece of misinformation, the government has confirmed that your ID will only be stored on your device, just like your contactless payments and all that sort of stuff. Look, I know the internet moves quickly, and I know it's hard to keep up with sometimes, so I have asked Democratic Services to signpost members to sessions on spotting and challenging misinformation. For the sake of our residents, I'd strongly encourage members to attend. We're given the privilege of sitting in this chamber to serve our city, to improve the lives of people who voted for us, and to help create jobs, improve the local economy,
Councillor Courtney,
chances,
you will have to wind up.
2 seconds, and our young people. We're not here to peddle misinformation, mislead residents, or bring forward unserious, unresearched motions. So please stop using this chamber in a quest for desperate clicks and likes on Facebook and for your 15 minutes of fame. Put your shoulders to the wheel and start working for our city.
Can I ask members to please keep to the timescales? Okay.
Point of order, Miss. Listen, if you allow it for one, you must be equal. We're all going to break it.
Please sit down. I have made the point, right? I've told Councillor Corton about the timescale, and I'm just saying to other people, please keep to the timescales, and that's been across the council, right? No, let's not go there, right? I've asked everybody to be aware of the timescales. Okay? Councillor Harvey now, please.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I really don't understand what the issue is, given that all of our ID is on our driving licences, which we carry around every day. The date we passed our test, if you've been speeding, it's on there, date of birth, home address and a mugshot. So I really don't understand what the issue is with digital ID. For me, this is a complete waste of important council time where we could be dealing with things that actually are in need for Newport. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Deb Davis.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'm supporting this amendment because, quite honestly, this is a focus on accuracy. And if we want the public to trust us, we have to be very careful with what's put on record. Yes, the government has announced a consultation on a digital ID system, and that's a fact. It's important to establish the facts and clarify the claim that every resident required to have digital ID to access all public services. That simply isn't the case. This is misinformation. At this point, the only confirmed mandatory use will be for the right-to-work checks, something people already do through digital systems that exist today. Physical documents will still exist and will continue to exist. So to suggest that residents will be criminalised or shut out of public services is overstating it. And this isn't fair on our residents reading the original motion who expect clear information from us, not worst-case assumptions. If you want to talk about cost, let's talk about it honestly. Using outdated figures gives the impression that we're inflating the threat to make a political point, and I don't think this is how this council should operate. Now, to be clear, I'm not dismissing concerns about privacy, data security or digital exclusion. Those concerns are real, and many reputable organisations have already raised this, and we absolutely should keep an eye on them. But raising a concern is not the same as assuming the very worst and presenting this as a fact. We also need to think about Newport residents and what they expect from us. They expect us to focus on issues we can actually influence: cost of living pressures, the state of housing, access to public services, and building a stronger, fairer local economy. They do not expect us to spend time debating national policy based on misinformation and claims that are not fully accurate. If we want to raise concerns with the government, let's do it properly, with facts, constructive questions and practical recommendations. This amendment is far more effective than passing a motion built on assumptions and misinformation. So, Presiding Member, I'm asking members to support this amendment, not because the concerns by the original motion don't matter, but because, as a responsible council, we should start with the facts and build from there. Let's focus on transparency. Let's focus on the fact that government's proposal will be a consultation exercise commencing in January, and let's ensure the council's views are part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you, Presiding Member. There's arguments for and against, really, for me, talking about, and people have touched on this, misinformation works both ways. And for me, I don't think there's enough information out there. It's a trust issue. A lot of people have said we use social media, and of course we do, ChatGPT. We live in electronic times. I think we all acknowledge that. But a lot of the things that we have discussed, they're on a voluntary basis. When people sign up for these social media platforms, etc., they know. So it's kind of with permissions. But there are a lot of misnomers out there. And when I say dystopian, not quite, but a part of a dystopian is fear. And I think there is a bit of that about the place, because you've got the China threat and things. These people are experts. And I think there's a lot of people out there with genuine concerns. I've also heard people, I don't know how true it is, you'll have to tell me. But people say, for example, I've heard things like, oh, right, they'll be able to measure your personal carbon footprint and things like this through travel and how many miles you've done. And then you're talking about the 15-minute cities. So these are the type of the conversations I'm hearing, whether it's misinformation, it's information of some sort. And so this works kind of both ways. How informed we are, I think, and when people feel that they're, particularly, and I'm not trying not to get political, but with the Labour government lately, I know they're working, I know they're framing things. I mean, Mr. Blair's in the back room mentioned, somebody just said retrospectively, but he is still out there today talking about digital ID with a zest about him. And it makes people a little bit guarded, because things like this, from the public point of view, it is about trust. So people are reticent, and I do worry about particularly the older generation, access, etc., etc. So for me, with things like this, I'm very guarded, and I'm waiting for the fuller, proper, I'm waiting for the real experts that we can trust and their expert opinions on, because I know that it's operating, as you speak, in places like Dubai. And so obviously it's a system that works. I think we'll all acknowledge that. But for me, it's the trust thing. People need to know that they can join in with this and they can trust it. So at the moment, I'm a little bit pensive with it, albeit I'm not totally knocking it on the head. But for my penny's worth, that is my views, and these are the conversations that I've had. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Councillor Whitehead. Councillor Cox, please.
Point of order.
Sorry, Councillor Mogford. Sorry.
Point of order.
Sorry?
Point of order, please.
Yeah, what's the matter?
Well, at the moment, we have a motion in front of us and an amendment, and we're talking to both of them. Surely we should only be talking to one of them. We're talking to both the motion and the amendment at the same time.
I don't think we are, Councillor Morris, because we're discussing just the amendment.
Which is, we're talking about both. Some people are talking about the motion, some people are talking about the amendments.
So the amendment was spoken about, and then there was a further amendment to that. So, and that's what we're discussing now with the amendment.
Thank you, Presiding Member. The issue, Councillor Morris, is that the issues in the amendment and the issues in the substantive motion are so intrinsically linked that I don't think you can really separate them.
Okay. That's the ruling. Councillor Mogford?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just remind members that the use of the online chat is not permitted during debates by the standing orders. Thank you.
Can I just ask if I can correct that misinformation that's on there, please?
Well, it shouldn't be on there anyway.
But I didn't reveal any personal information about any councillor in particular.
Right.
I did that very specifically. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Made your point, but I did say at the beginning that the chat function is not to be used in that way. Right, we move. Councillor Mogford, please.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Misinformation. Okay, yeah. Information changes. There's a lot of misinformation out on the internet. To say there's no information on the costing is erroneous. The Labour Together think tank has projected the cost at 400 million, focusing solely on the base infrastructure. Please make a note of what I said.
Councillor Mogford, through the chair, please.
Please make a note of it. Labour Together think tank estimated 400 million, focusing solely on the base infrastructure. The Institute for Global Change, 1 billion, with an estimated annual running cost of 100 million. Now, if that's misinformation, that's come from sources which I deem to be credible. So please challenge that and tell me I'm wrong. Yeah? Further misinformation. I wrote to my MP, Jessica Morden, and I received a reply, a very short reply, and it said basically there will be a consultation this year, and the councillor reiterated that. Are you aware that the public consultation has shifted into next year? Well, then check it, please. Yeah, please check it. And when you check it, can she please inform the MP that she's checked it, and the MP can write back to me and correct the erroneous information that I was sent. Yes, you do work for it, doesn't it?
Can we stop this little talk between each other, please? It's got to stop, okay? You're on the floor, you speak, no one else shouldn't be uttering anything.
Thank you.
That's across the chamber now, please, okay?
Thank you.
Someone said to me, I am not also convinced that this ID will satisfactorily tackle any issues in the economy where currently individuals could get the appropriate and correct checks on their physical equipment, blah, blah, blah. Somebody's written quite a long response to a question about digital ID, and this person is our other MP for Newport, Ruth Jones. I would suggest that, in terms of misinformation, it's very useful to read what the other MP has said, and she has legitimate concerns that she's raised, and that's fantastic. This is a debate. It's a debate about a serious issue, and there are facts, there are hard facts, there's speculation, and there's some interpolation of what could happen. Because when we look around the world, and we look at other projects that have manifested, we do see a lot of issues with these projects in terms of safety, security, social challenges. To say that the people of Newport are not so interested in digital ID or not concerned about it, then there are people, and I've been approached by residents who are concerned, and I know other councillors have been approached because they told me there is a concern out there. Okay, there is some speculation, and I will reiterate that. We're having a debate on the matter. It's realistic to have this debate, and I'll talk later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cox.
Point of order again, Mr. Presiding Officer.
What's your point of order?
I'm sorry to be a pain, but if the mover of the motion has spoken for the second time...
You can speak on the amendment. You're speaking on the amendment.
Well, this is where it's confusing. You have two things on the table at the same time. We should be speaking of one or the other, not both. If he spoke on his motion the second time, that has closed the debate. I'm sorry to be a pain.
Councillor Morris, the presiding members asked me to clarify. Councillor Mogford has proposed the original motion. There has been an amendment proposed to that motion. We are having the debate on that amendment. Councillor Mogford has spoken in the debate on that amendment, which he's permitted to do. He's not permitted to contribute again in the debate on the amendment, but he will be permitted to contribute again in the debate on the substantive motion.
But he was replying to things that were raised in his original motion.
No.
Well, he's got 3 minutes to make his comments, Councillor Morris, and what he says within that's a matter for him.
Well, I'm totally confused, I must confess.
All right, we'll move on now. I can't remember where I was. Oh, Councillor Cox.
This is obviously a major issue. It's a very, very serious issue. And I agree with Councillor Mogford, as he concluded in his 3 minutes, that he talked about it's important to lay out the facts. But what I can't understand is if it's important to lay out the facts, that it is really a great shame, I think, that the motion, the original motion that was presented to the Council, to be quite frank, not only lacked the facts, but it verged on the absolutely ridiculous. The idea that we're going to have the police rounding up, as it says there, millions of grannies and granddads and the poor, that it's going to be such a vast expense, we're going to have crumbling public services, is quite clearly ridiculous. And so, well, what are the facts? Well, the facts are actually that digital ID is already in operation in a number of countries that really have got a long, long tradition of democracy and of freedom, and is working there. Countries like Canada, like Denmark, like Belgium, other countries are actively looking at introducing digital ID because it clearly does have advantages. I mean, in terms of making us safe, in terms of dealing with criminality, it has a whole series of advantages. It clearly also brings with it a lot of concerns about the security, about civil liberties. But I actually do think if we are going to take a sensible and grown-up approach to this, that rather than produce ridiculous motions like this, which, to be quite frank, is nothing else but a cheap attempt to score a few political points here in the Council, rather than doing that, I would very much hope we would all support the amendment, which really is doing actually what Councillor Mogford's argued. He's complained on the one hand that this is being rushed through. He's complained on the other hand that the consultation's been delayed. But one or the other. And so what the motion is asking us for is to take a grown-up, serious look at this issue by encouraging people to join in the public consultation that's going to take place, and let's come to a sensible decision, actually, that carries some rationality and carries some real benefits for this country.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor Reynolds? It's nice to see you back as well, Councillor Reynolds.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Actually, could I take a couple of seconds, seeing as you said that, just to thank, if it doesn't take up my time, can I just thank people and from right across this chamber, not just on this side, for the unbelievable and the incredible level of compassion and care that people have shown me and my wife and my children over the last few months. It really is appreciated more than I can say, and that applies, as I say, right across the chamber, irrespective of our political differences. So, yeah, thank you for the welcome back. It's good to be back. In terms of what I wanted to say, most of it has been said, to be honest. I was going to raise a few things about the fact that our digital information is out there anyway. I'm just going to mention a couple of quick examples that spring to mind, and there is a theme to this one. I think of Shein, Temu, TikTok, DeepSeek AI. I've picked those four in particular because, yeah, if we're talking about maybe misinformation or what might be going on, they are potentially sources of lots of personal information of ours going not just to a foreign state, to a hostile foreign state. And yet, if I did a survey around this room, I would guess that the majority of us, and certainly in Newport, a lot of our citizens have willingly given their personal information, their names, their dates of birth, their addresses, their email, their bank details, their home addresses, all that information willingly given out. I won't go through all the things I was going to say, but there's one extra point I'd like to make on this, and it comes down to the points that Councillor Mogford made in terms of the concerns. You're right, they are real concerns. People do have concerns, I get that. We can't ignore them, we need to address them. But I'd like to think we're responsible politicians in this chamber. And what we need to do is make sure people have the facts so they can make their own minds up. We live in a world where we've seen what's gone on around the world, where some very extreme populist politicians have gained power. We're seeing it in this country. We're seeing some councils in England going to the wall because people have listened to misinformation and it's been fed that misinformation. We've got a duty, irrespective of what colour we represent here, we've got a duty to make sure that people get the right information and sensible information so they can make their minds up, not feed people's fears. What we need to do is allay people's fears and give them the facts so they can then look at those fears and say, well, okay, this is what we need to do. This is the situation. Feeding people's fears doesn't help anybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Councillor Fairweather.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. Of course, this has all come from the Blair government back in 2004, 2005, when we were in, as Councillor Corton said, a very different world in terms of social media and the type of things that we have. Now, I can tell you, I don't want digital ID, but I get your point that your driving licence and your passport, and we already have all these things, and when you go abroad to a different country, you pop your passport in the scanner, and they can tell if you're wanted by the police, or if you've got some kind of restrictions on you somewhere else. I fully get all that, but I am concerned that a digital ID may be just one step too far, because I don't think we need it as a country. I don't think we need it. I think we have enough already. And can I just say to Councillor Corton, in my past life, because I've sort of retired now, my job, I tried to shut down...
Can we just go to the chair?
I tried to shut down my Facebook as much as possible. If you've looked at my Facebook and those things are there, please tell me, because I will shut it down even further, because that does concern me. But I don't support digital ID, but I do understand, you know, the points that other people here have made today, because that stuff is already out there on us, isn't it, on most of us.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Presiding Member. And you know, I get Councillor Fairweather's point there. I think there's a few fair points there. I think that's why this is crucial to have this discussion today, but I think it's also very crucial why this amendment is in place. And I'll use an example. I'll use Councillor Whitehead as an example. Councillor Whitehead, absolutely fairness, mentioned fear. Fear in the elderly, fear in all walks of life. And that's the world we're in to an extent, and that is a worry. And that's why, in our roles, it's about facts. It's especially something so important as this. With Councillor Whitehead, if you've got fear, you must combat it with facts. That's so important. And I say that, and I don't say this in a pleasing way, but before Councillor Whitehead spoke, Councillor Mulford spoke, and he said about a Labour government, and the result is an estimated 4.6 billion of taxpayers' money being wasted. After Councillor Whitehead spoke, Councillor Mulford got up again, and then came back and said a think tank, a Labour think tank, has estimated 400 million. Now, look, I'm no mathematician, but that's a hell of a drop in 10 minutes. That's all I'm saying. And that's the information we've got there, but it's really important that we make clear, factual statements here. And I'd like to also just mention about the going out for consultation. The House of Commons Library on the 3rd of November confirms that it will be this year. So, again, that's what we've got in front of us, and that's the Library, House of Commons Library. So I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Presiding Member. It's not uncommon for politicians to break manifesto pledges. Labour yourselves did it with the M4 Leaf Road, if you recall. But it is unusual for a new government to potentially introduce something so in Parliament which isn't actually in their manifesto. And that is something which should be a concern. Now, I appreciate why you've done it. It must be obviously another distraction technique to try and cover up from what can best be described as the most shambolic start ever to a government. But it's not something your electorate voted on. I have a passport, I have a driver's licence, an NHS number and a national insurance number. I don't need any more ID. If I believed it would stop illegal immigrants, for instance, from getting free treatment at the Royal Gwent or Grange hospitals, I might give it some consideration. But Sir Keir Starmer, sorry, Presiding Member, has ruled that out completely. So I don't care whether it costs, well, I do care, but I don't know if it cares if it costs 100 million, 200 million, 400 million. I suspect it's going to cost a lot more than that when it's finally implemented. But to me, there are far too many questions and no actual answers to how it's going to improve our lives. So think of all the frontline services across Newport who could benefit from this additional cash. So I will not be supporting this amendment.
Okay, Councillor Rheoli.
I'm glad this motion was raised today. If it wasn't for the tenacity of the mover of the motion, it wouldn't have got an airing here that it's having today anyway. There are an estimated 3 million people who have signed a petition against this. There's 2 million digitally unable to do so or to take part. That's 5 million people. There's approximately just over 10,000 people of the 5 million people are from Newport. So I speak today, and so does the mover of the motion, on behalf of those without a voice. We're speaking on behalf of Newportonians who are against this. So please, don't try and ridicule the figures. The figures that were quoted were the most up-to-date, most reliable figures that were available. And we all know those figures are probably way out. They're going to be higher than they ever have been projected. So raising this today, as it did, as it has happened now, is dealing with it now. And we can only deal with what we can see now. But I'm asking you to look to the future, for then you will not see maybe a government that cares. There could be a future government that may not care, and a future government that may act like the Chinese government who have this digital ID in place now. I won't be supporting the amendment, but I do reserve the right to speak on the motion.
Councillor James.
Is it on now? Right, thank you, Presiding Member. I want to start by actually thanking Councillor Morris and Councillor Reynolds and the other councillors across the chamber that have talked about fear. I've noted that actually this amendment talks about supporting the Labour government's digital ID consultation plans, not plans to bring it in, but almost every councillor that has spoken in this chamber has spoken as though digital ID is coming in tomorrow, next week, whenever it is. So I just wanted to gently call that out. I am going to support a consultation. I'm not decided actually on whether or not I support digital ID, but I just want to call out one more thing. In his speech for this amendment, the leader referenced illegal immigrants. That rhetoric I found was quite worrying and actually quite surprising from the Labour leader. He waved it around almost as a gotcha that Labour were to the right of the Conservatives. I'm not sure that is something to be proud of, and I hope it isn't the direction of travel in the Labour Party in Newport or the UK generally.
Okay, I don't think anybody else wants to speak on the amendment. Shall we move to the vote? Sorry, yeah.
Is this a point of order, Councillor Mogford? No. So the leader proposed the amendment, so he's got the right to speak on
it. Thank you. Councillor James's 2 points first, because it's fresh in the memory. On the first one, I was really careful with the amendment, actually, to say that we support the consultation plans, and I appreciate her picking that out. I don't actually say we support ID plans, because I wanted to try and get that cross-party consensus. I actually even didn't take out if only one thing of the actual concerns listed, because I wanted the Minister, I'm happy to write to the Minister, and I want the Minister to address those concerns, because as Councillor Whitehead talked about, it was fear and getting some facts out there. So I'm very happy to write. I didn't take out working with local voluntary digital inclusion groups or working with civil liberty groups. I didn't take that. And all I did was add local MPs, because you quoted 2 local MPs, and it's important we work with them as well, because it's a parliamentary bill, not a council bill. So I was actually just trying to clean it up of what was actually happening and what was actually taking place. And on Councillor James's point, it's a fact. The Prime Minister said it was about checking mandatory right-to-work checks on illegal migrants working in the economy. He actually said that. It was in his speech. So, I'm just saying what was actually said, what the Prime Minister's main points were. You can disagree with that. Some people might have but What I try to do, this is generally my approach, is people have concerns, let's write to the Minister, happy to do that, happy to work with others, let's address these fears, concerns, let's get a consultation in and just state what the Prime Minister actually said.
Right, we move now to the vote now on the amendment. There has been seconded, sorry. Yeah. Okay. All right. All those in favour of the amendment? Any against? Got one against. Any abstentions? Two abstentions. Oh, three abstentions. Yeah, four abstentions and one against. Five, is it? Oh. Sorry. That's clearly carried anyway. Right, we move on now to the... Sorry? Well, we're going to debate the substantive motion now, but we voted just for the amendment. Any?
I don't want to annoy anyone. Can we move to the vote? Yes.
Well, you've got to. Yeah, you've got it right. Yeah, you've just voted for the amendment. All right.
Can we move to the vote after that?
Fine.
Yeah.
You got a seconder for that, leader?
Yeah. Do you want to speak? Yeah.
Well, I want to thank nearly all the councillors in this chamber who recognise that this is an important topic. I also want to recognise that those people that think it's ridiculous should have a look at themselves. I've just checked on the BBC website, which may or may not be...
Can I just say, Councillor Mulford, they didn't say anywhere with individual was ridiculous, and I think that was inappropriate. You said look at themselves, and I think that's inappropriate.
Plural.
Okay?
No one person was singled out. I did look on... I am aware that there could be a lot of misinformation out there, and in any debate, the ones I watch on Westminster, there's always a lot of misinformation. So we could try and clear some things up. I just had a look on the BBC website. Now, you may think that's credible, you may think it's not credible.
Point of order, please. I thought we had a rule in this chamber that mobile phones were supposed to be switched off. Or is my memory failing me?
I think you were right there, to be perfectly honest.
Well, please, could you instruct me?
Well, I just said you were right.
Okay.
Please switch your mobile phone off.
I apologise, and I know there's some other people have come up with some pertinent facts by checking, and that, to me that's fine. And there was no point of order against them. The BBC, October the 20th, I'll have to do it from memory now, won't I? The BBC, October the 20th, said they wanted to the government wanted to put a consultation through to get a digital ID for 13 to 16-year-olds. Okay? I didn't know that, I just checked it. What can I say in summing up? I appreciate the support of those people that realise this is a serious debate, and it'll have to pass the test of time. And it will be our legacy to look in 5 or 10 years' time and say, what actually happened? Was this just a storm in a teacup, or was this a real concern? To address Councillor Corton's point of view, that this is a Tory, or somebody said this is a Tory point-scoring activity. It's not. As a ward councillor, when people come to me with genuine concerns, and I'll have one for January as well, when they come to me with genuine concerns, I feel it's my duty to take it forward. And on this issue, I am against the digital ID, and I suspect quite a few people are. So, what else can I say? The one thing that's really important on that point is the facts that... what I presented today, if you'd listened on my motion and the follow-up points about security, etc., etc., I gleaned that information from a cyber security expert. I commissioned it from a cyber security expert. And we know there's quite a few of them in Newport. We do know that, don't we? And there'll be more of those in Newport. It's not me that has put this together. At the base level, I went to some cybersecurity experts, and I mean experts, and they came back with an opinion and an analysis. Okay? If you're going to rubbish that, that's fine, because that's what lawyers do. They rubbish each other's arguments. That's fine. You rubbish it. But don't say this is a Tory point-scoring activity. You know, let's be more grown-up than that, shall we? Thank you.
Right, okay. Yeah, right. Sorry? The vote on the, we've moved into a vote now on the motion with the amendment that's been put forward. All those in favour? Okay, all those against? Got one. All those abstentions rather. Oh, so there is, yeah, right. That's 5 abstentions. Okay, so the amendment is carried.
Sorry, just for clarification, Mr. Mayor, presiding member.
I don't want to be a mayor again.
If you don't vote for it, and you don't vote against it, and you don't abstain, can I just ask what Councillor Annuami was actually doing?
He voted against it. He voted against it. He voted against it.
Gee, my fault.
Yeah, he voted against it.
Can I just clarify? I saw 5 abstentions on the screen and some over there, so it was more than 5.
I thought there was 5.
There was 5 on the screen, but there were abstentions in the chamber as well, I believe. 5 on the screen and 2 over there.
It's not a recorded vote. There were more hands up for 4 than there were for either abstentions or against, so the substantive motion, as amended, is carried.
Sorry, I thought there was. I thought the numbers weren't there that I counted, so I am got my abacus with me today. Okay, it's carried anyway. All right. Okay, right. Right, we move on now to item 7. Notice of motion of HMOs. This is going to be proposed by Councillor Howells.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Could I just clarify, I don't need to read the motion out?
No, you don't.
Thank you. Coming from this guy here. Positively charged. Okay, hopefully this one will be all right.
We've just had all this problem with digital, haven't we? Yeah.
Presiding Member, thank you, and fellow councillors. Tonight I bring forward a motion that is more about process, but it's more than process. It's about fairness, it's about integrity, and restoring public confidence in how we regulate housing in Newport. It's not a technical debate, it's about real people, real homes, and the trust our communities place in us as members and as the council in general. I'm aware from conversations I've had with colleagues across the chamber, as part of my role on the Planning Committee and in Performance Scrutiny Committee and other roles, that HMOs are an emotive subject. They serve a purpose in our communities, and we have a huge housing crisis. We do need them, but they need to be, excuse me on the microphone again, hopefully everyone can hear me. We do need them.
Can we, sorry to stop you now, can we sort that microphone out, please? It's not fair.
You are. Use that one.
Thank you. Public Services, Councillor Rheoli.
Councillor Howells, you might want to stand with us if you
want. No comment. So, as I said, it's a emotive subject for members and it's an emotive subject for communities. We get a lot of inquiries that I'm sure lots of other councillors do in the chamber from people about the concerns that HMOs have on the communities that they live. They're real concerns and we need to listen to them. And I've uncovered some real issues with the regimes, which the notice of motion tries to explain to you, and I'm sure that we'll tease those issues out in debate. But I'm hoping that we can stand together and really drive forward policy change in an area which is really important to the members of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Leader, you can second it.
Yeah, happy to second, Chair. And building on Councillor Howell's point, you know, HMOs, we do need them in the city. We are the fastest growing city in Wales. But it's about having responsible landlords and responsible tenants, because there are real consequences for our communities when we don't have responsible landlords or tenants, and it causes real angst within all our different communities. And you know, we all represent great wards, and we've all had those emails, and it's important that we make sure the governance structure is right, appropriate, and that all the different teams do speak to each other. So again, happy to write to the Minister, get some clarity on that. When Councillor Howell spoke to me, we had a discussion, an adult conversation, and I put in the motion that we've also commissioned an independent review ourselves, separate of this council, to get an understanding of our own policy around HMO, and happy to circulate it when it's finished as well, led by the Cabinet Member for Housing, who's also passionate about this subject and dealing in an appropriate manner. And so hopefully we can get cross-party consensus on this. And when I get that letter back, I'm happy to circulate it as well to all members so they can review it at their leisure. One point of accuracy on the motion, Chair, and I should have spotted this earlier. It was pointed out to me, the Cabinet Secretary, spelling is wrong, it should be a Y, and the title's wrong. So if we could correct that, I'll be very, very grateful in the minutes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Evans.
Yeah, thank you, Presiding Member. I'm very happy to support this. I must confess I was unaware of this, and any additional actions that can be taken to punish road landlords is to be very much welcomed. Don't get me wrong, there are some excellent HMOs, but these are few and far between. For far too long, residents across the city have had to put up with operators who deliberately flout or ignore the laws. I sincerely hope the Welsh Government takes this motion on board and makes the necessary changes before the elections in May.
Councillor Fairweather.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. Obviously, when we have applications for HMOs in any of our wards, there's always objections from somebody. And one of the things that concerns me most is that residents seem to think that the planning committee and us as councillors ignore the facts that they are putting forward. And it's usually about simple things that impact upon existing residents' lives. For example, you have a HMO that has 5 rooms. Because it's near a bus stop or because it's near the railway station, the planning guidance says that it can be granted. And it's very difficult to refuse that application on that point. But residents don't see it like that. What residents see are 5 extra cars taking up space in a road where parking is already restricted. Most HMOs are needed. I understand that people need and must have somewhere to live. That's what we do in a decent society, isn't it? Everybody has to have somewhere to live. I don't want to see people on the street because they can't be housed. But we have to make sure that the council has the ability to refuse HMOs if the infrastructure is not in place properly to support them. And residents will go along with that. What they don't want to see are big HMOs with 10, 15 rooms, and then not the infrastructure there to park the car or to use the facilities. And I think that needs a change that needs to be made by Welsh Government, because these are rules that they have put in place, not the Council. It's what Welsh Government prescribe on their planning guidance.
Thank you. Councillor Aliwami.
Thank you. To be honest, I feel a little bit uncomfortable seeing this motion here. I can understand...
A mobile phone there. Can you put your mobile phone down, please?
I've got notes on it.
Well...
my pen stopped working,
Listen,
Mr.
yeah.
Presiding Member. I've got my notes on it.
Okay.
Are you happy with that?
Well...
I'm not reading text.
Sorry?
I said I'm not reading text.
Well, I just spoke to the idea... officer, what...
Okay.
Well, if you want my advice, Presiding Member, there is no such prohibition in the standing orders.
I know, but hold on a minute. But we have, for such a long time, we have made a point about using mobile phones in the council chamber. We have. Whether it's... all right, please... but, you know, it might not be an outstanding order, though, but we have all agreed that through the years that not to use mobile phones, because I've been in this chamber, and quite often you'd have people there when people are speaking and people are talking their mobile phones, and we made a commitment then to not use mobile phones. It might not be in the standing orders, but we did agree it. Now, it's up to this council now. As far as I'm concerned, I think it can be rude when people are using mobile phones when people are speaking. Now, it's up to you now at the moment, but I'm just saying we need to maybe change that standing order to make sure that you don't use mobile phones.
Okay now?
All right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you.
Yeah, I said I'm not comfortable with it because it's a kind of motion that requires officers' input, advice. I mean, why is it that the planning regime and the licensing one are a separate one currently? Why are they? There may be reasons, I don't know. And what we're asking here, we're saying, you know, I can understand the sentiment behind it, and I can understand the public worrying about it. But this is the kind of thing that should really be discussed in a committee of the council, like a scrutiny, you know, to see whether you can actually mandate the cabinet secretary, as the motion says, to actually, you know, combine the two, the address, the disconnect, which that said. Let me just say something to you. I think the solution to the HMO lies in this council. 3 years ago, I can remember, straight after the last election, a group of councillors met to discuss HMOs because of the density of HMOs in the ward. It included mostly wards like my own, Stow Hill, Maindy, St Julian, Alterine, etc. And there are issues there that the SPG, that is the planning guidance, which actually address the HMO density, need to actually be looked at and amended here in council under the cabinet member who is responsible. For example, the 50-meter radius is really a very short radius in terms of determining the density. Within a street, it's actually, you know, we can have streets a lot longer than 50 meters, and yet they can have several NHOs, which can actually affect the problem they have with community coherence. The parking survey, we allow the applicants to actually provide the parking survey. Of course, the applicant is going to paint a rosy picture about that. So why don't we address that issue? It is within our powers in the council, and say at least go for a parking survey that is, you know, that we can have some confidence in. They often, you know, sort of push the problems under the carpet. We've got the issues of waste and recycling. It really is a big issue now, especially when there is not enough parking, that an HMO, a planning application, should address the issue of the waste and recycling storage and the presentation, who is responsible, and so on. And that should be addressed in the SPG. And finally, you've got the communal space. Currently, I'm looking at 2 applications in my own ward. where the applicant has deleted communal space. You know, they expect 7 people, 7 people to live in a small house, basically, because most of the houses in Stohill are not great, and actually do away without a lounge, or do away without a dining room. I don't think that should be accepted. That's a planning issue, and I think that we should be looking at our own housing order before we ask the Welsh Government or the UK Government to address issues which really need to be sort of looked at. Okay, licensing, planning, yes, good idea to have a connection between...
Councillor Almy, you need to stop, please.
But please, you know, don't bring it on council's law. I mean, I need some advice on that one.
Yeah.
And so do you, I believe. So I am abstaining on that.
Well, okay, that's your prerogative.
Mr. Presiding Officer.
Councillor Adam, please.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Firstly, I'd just like to say I acknowledge Councillor Howell's comments, and I sit in front of him in scrutiny, as he's probably aware. Just want to say, on improving departmental liaison between, the different service areas, the leader's taken a great step in merging both the housing and planning service areas under one portfolio. So just want to highlight that in terms of breaking silos and transforming systems. With regards to the actual SPG and the issues around, the radius and threshold that Councillor Al-Nuwami mentioned, I just want to say we have recommissioned a study on HMOs, and he was given the opportunity directly to consult with the consultants with regards to that, and we're awaiting for that report to come back. So let's be patient about that, and we can then go off the evidence. It has to be informed evidence when we're making changes to either, the local development plan or the SPG. We can't just come up with rules, based on whims and desires. So let's just wait on that. With regards to HMOs and licensing and planning, I just want to make it succinct that they do operate under different statutory regimes. Licensing is linked to the particular applicant, similar to if you have a driving license and you're banned on that driving license, you can't transfer your license over to someone else. That doesn't happen. But then if you have planning permission for a particular land or property development, if you sell that asset, planning permission for that particular use remains there. And whoever takes over that asset or property can use it lawfully. So I just want to clarify that. They are different regimes, and I urge members of the public and members in this room to familiarise themselves with the legal limitations and remits in the different areas, so they can challenge cases that are contentious in their respective wards with regards to HMOs, and also save officer time as well. What we don't want is a query going to the licensing team when it's a planning issue, and vice versa. Okay. Just want to make it clear as well with regards to decisions when it comes to HMO licenses. We do now actually note that on the cover letters as well. We note it on the cover letters that planning permission is required where necessary. So rogue landlords don't actually flout the rules. And we protect communities because we're always out there for our citizens. It's important that, landlords operate safely and look after our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hirahan.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. I, of course, welcome any attempt to regulate the way that HMOs are approved in this city. Councillor Evans makes a very important point. about the frugality of writing to the Senate before the elections. A letter sent there is unlikely to receive a reply before May. So I think we can put that to one side, with your permission. And it's essential that we, on a cross-party basis, find a solution to the supplementary planning guidance that's already been mentioned. And I do look forward to this report coming forward.
Thank you. Is there anybody else want to... Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Presiding Member. With HMOs, I get a bit confused because obviously I own a house like most of us do. You might own a property that you rent out. But when somebody goes into HMOs, surely it's commercial business sense. So surely it's a business and we should be looking at it as a business for taxation, whether it's a waste, it should be have a commercial licence. So that's my perspective on it. I own a house, like all of us. However, you buy a house of investment, you're a landlord. But surely HMOs and such like that, next step hotels, motels, is a commercial business. We should be looking at slightly different angles. How did I put that point over?
I think something like that, I understand where you're coming from, but it's out of our hands on that type of thing, isn't it, really? Right, so can we move? No one else wants to have indicated... Sorry? No one else has indicated the speaker there? Unless you want to wind up now? No. No, the move of the motion is stood up now to move.
Thank you, Presiding Member. And thanks to members and cross-party support on this issue. It is emotive. I think Councillor Army, with the greatest respect, slightly misunderstood the motion. So I'll try and frame the problem if I can, so it's clear. Right now, as Councillor Adan said, there are two separate legal regimes. Planning is dealt with under the Town and Country Planning Act, and HMO licensing is dealt with under the Housing Act. They operate completely in isolation. This disconnect means a landlord can obtain a HMO licence even when they have no planning consent for a change of use on the property. And that's the issue that I'm trying to address here. The result of that is properties operating in breach of planning law, enforcement headaches, and worst of all, tenants who move in good faith might then face eviction and homelessness because enforcement action subsequently takes place afterwards to regulate the position on planning, meaning that potentially there's a number of rooms. And I'll give you a personal example of this, so a real case. For over a year in our ward, a resident contacted me repeatedly, worried that a neighbour was converting the property next door into a HMO. And we get this all the time, we all get this contact. So I checked, no planning application had been made, and I reassured her I would act when the time came and support her in making any representation she wanted to make as part of the planning application. I kept an eye on the planning. We get weekly planning lists from the council, and I keep an eye and I check them every week. Nothing at all. Then one day she calls me and says, the property is now being advertised as a HMO with a local estate agent. And so, on investigation, I discovered that licensing had granted a HMO licence, but planning consent had never been sought. Tenants have already moved in. So I report this breach, and enforcement action is now pending from the planning team, and a report has been sought and approved for enforcement action to be taken. If that action succeeds, someone will lose their home through no fault of their own because the landlord has ignored planning law. I was embarrassed to that resident when I said I would keep an eye on the situation for her and help her make representations. And the issue here is how one department of the council can say, yes, it's fine for you to have a licence and operate the property as a HMO, while the other department, the planning department, says, no, you can't do that. And now we're going to take enforcement action against you and serve you with a notice. It's not the officer's fault. They're following the legislation, and it's the legislation that's broken, and that's what we're trying to resolve here. So, in terms of the scale of the problem, this isn't an isolated case, okay? So, in the Llywoddraeth ward alone, 70% of licensed HMOs have not sought planning consent, okay? I have checked the whole of the updated licensing list at the time I wrote this, which was last week, the notice of motion the week before, and 70% of those have not got planning consent. Okay? So there will be others of those where they're immune to enforcement now. Some of them have been operating for a significant period of time. They're over 4 years. The planning department now cannot take any enforcement action. They're immune to prosecution, if that's the right term. Okay? So that, to me, is indefensible. It damages confidence in the council and creates a homelessness risk for tenants that they've done nothing wrong and we can't do anything about. And let's be clear, this isn't just my concern. Across Newport and Wales, residents are tired of HMOs being imposed on their streets without proper checks. As I said in my opening pitch, HMOs are right in the right way, and as the leader pointed out, when they're managed properly by landlords that manage them responsibly and tenants that behave responsibly, they fulfil a significant housing need. But we have to get them right, and we have to get public confidence in the way that we do things. And currently, the legislation is capping our ability to be able to do that. The numbers speak for themselves on HMOs. Newport has an estimated 2,300 known HMOs. If you look at the registrations, they're significantly less, okay? And I'm not seeking to spread misinformation. This is information that's out there. There are a significant number of licensed HMOs that don't have planning and vice versa. And we just need to get those regimes right so that this council and our officers representing us can deal with the cases robustly and make sure our residents have confidence in the things that we do. So this is about integrity. How can we tell our communities that we enforce planning policy when at the same time we license properties that breach it? How can we claim to protect tenants when our processes create homelessness? It's not just a technical issue, it's a moral one that we need to deal with. So my motion does three things. Locally, it asks for a review of our internal procedures to strengthen the coordination between planning and licensing, flag cases without proper consent, and consider tightening the fit and proper person test. Secondly, it calls for the Welsh Government to look at the legislation, to legislate, bring these regimes together and get them considered in one. How can you be a fit and proper person to look after and manage a property if you can't be bothered to follow the rules around planning and get the proper permissions to use your property? So my call for action, this isn't about party politics, it's about common sense and fairness. And I hope we've got an opportunity tonight to send a clear message to our residents that we will attempt to tighten this and look after our communities and make sure our communities are sustainable for the people that live there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Howells. Right, we move now to the vote. All those in favour of the motion? Any against? No, I don't think there's any abstentions, so the vote is carried. It would be quite interesting if other local authority... Sorry, you abstained. No, I didn't ask. I apologise, okay? All right? But it's no... I apologise. What more do you want me to do? Oh, thank you very much. Right, okay. My point was it'd be great if a lot of other local authorities sort of supported this as well, because it meant a lot, and I'm sure the leader would be mentioning that to his colleagues as leaders of the other authorities, because if it comes in a number of them, they might take a lot more notice of it. Right, can I say... Okay, well, that's being negative. Let's hope it will happen. Can I just suggest, as I said earlier on, that we have a break now, because obviously a lot of people are writing things as the minutes of the... So we say 10 minutes, please, so people can have a bit of a break. Okay. I I'm not sure whether it was moved or not, but it was agreed by the time we had it. It wasn't like a motion.
Sorry, may I be so bold as to...
You normally are.
To ask the Chamber to break with protocol and pause in reflection for the sad passing this morning of the former Newport and Wales fantastic captain Mike Spiky Watkins, who sadly passed away this morning.
Right, I didn't know.
A legend of the town, as it was, and a great ambassador for our city and for Wales. Whether we could just pause in reflection in his memory.
Yeah,
the great man.
No problem. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Thank you, Presiding Member.
Right. Thank you very much for that, Councillor Whitehead.
Fantastic.
Right, we move on now to item 8, Annual Corporate Plan Self-Assessment Report 2024-2025 and the Corporate Plan 2022 to 2027. An update. Leader.
Thank you, Presiding Member. In 2022, the Council launched its 5-year corporate plan that aimed to deliver an ambitious, fairer, greener Newport for everyone. The annual report presented reflects our achievements, but also our challenges to date, and it has been presented to all the relevant scrutiny committees, and we thank all those members who gave their time and offered constructive feedback and challenge to that assessment. I also want to thank our staff who have contributed a huge amount to trying to deliver the corporate plan as outlined in 2022, and particularly recognise the great work such as the anti-poverty strategy, which we all, I hope, agree with, the placemaking plan led by my brilliant Cabinet Member, Councillor Clark, the culture strategy led by an equally brilliant Councillor Sal Corton. We have put great emphasis on regeneration and investment into Newport, and we have seen some fruits of that labour around global companies, including from the semiconductor industry and from data centres. We have key capital projects that have been delivered and more in the pipeline, particularly around schools, St Andrews, Port Gwenley, and great ambitious plans around Cynllun and Mannau. We've also done some great work on climate change, led by Councillor Forsey, around solar panels and insulation. There's some more great work to update Council and future generation, future meetings around particularly insulation and those most vulnerable in our city. It also recognises the pressures we're facing, and it's an honest assessment, and housing has already been discussed with the HMO motion. We are the fastest growing city. We are seeing huge pressure in our housing services. They're not abating in any way, shape or form. If anything, we're seeing an acceleration of our population growth, not a deceleration, which leading to massive issues around waiting lists, appropriate housing, and issues with homelessness. Also with which is a great positive, but also puts pressure on our children's social services, is a huge growth in our under-16s at double digits, the only place in Wales at double digits, under-16. No one's even close to that. Cardiff is next, I think 5.2 if memory serves me. But it does mean in our social services, particularly children's, we're getting increasingly complex, demanding cases that we haven't seen before, if I'm honest, and I know Councillor Lacey sees it frontline, and our staff are taking huge steps to deal with those new, complex cases. This annual assessment is a chance to refresh our corporate plan, because 5 years is a very long time, and things change, and Newport changes in that time, and our residents' expectations and issues change over that time. And you know, if you've listened to me any time recently, I'm very keen on making us the most efficient and effective council, particularly around our services, and improving our customer services and our services to members to give them the information they need, and to our residents and the services they need as and when they want them. That's particularly around stuff around AI and automation, which are highlighted elsewhere in our corporate plan and in our service plans as well. However, our overall objectives remain unchanged. We believe being an ambitious, fair and green in Newport is what the majority of the residents want to see. And I would take no, I don't want to take any emphasis away from ambitious. I think we are going to be the future economic engine of Wales. I'm confident of that. It's about fulfilling our potential, and this corporate plan and this renewal is still a step on that journey.
Agree. Is there a seconder? Anybody want to speak on the report? No, I suggest we move to the vote then. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? No, I move it's carried then. Thank you very much indeed. Right, I think the next item on the agenda is item 9, Strategic Quality Planned Annual Report 2024-2025. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Noswaith dda, everybody. Rwy'n hapus I rannu'r adroddiad yma heddiw. I'm happy to share this report this evening. Under the Equality Act 2010, the Council's got a statutory duty to publish an annual report outlining progress against the equality objectives set out in the Strategic Equality Plan alongside workforce equality data. So this report is the first annual report under the Council's 4th Strategic Annual Plan, covering the range 2024 to 2028, and provides a statutory overview of progress made during the first year of its delivery. It highlights key achievements and actions undertaken during 2024-25 under each equality objective, offering a historical look back at our work over the reporting period. The draft report was reviewed by the Council's Overview and Scrutiny Management Committee and Cabinet, and their feedback is included in the report. The Equality and Human Rights Commission, EHRC, also recently provided feedback following their monitoring of local authority compliance with the public sector equality duty. And the Council met most requirements and received recommendations to strengthen delivery of the Strategic Equality Plan, which have been addressed through minor updates to the plan. So the key areas to note include highlights from the first year of delivery, and they include in policy development, the review and development of key strategies and policies, including the culture strategy, accessibility strategy for schools, the anti-poverty strategy, and the wellness at work policy. The White Ribbon accreditation is a recognition of the Council's commitment to ending violence against women and girls, and I'd like to thank everybody who participated in today's events. And will continue to show their commitment over the following year. The Disability Confident, in partnership with Newport Live, Newport became the first local authority area in Wales to achieve the InSport Gold accreditation from Disability Sports Wales. And the gender pay gap and gender equality, the Council reported the lowest gender pay gap among Welsh local authorities, outperforming both Welsh and UK averages. The report also identifies priorities for the next reporting period, and they're going to include strengthening the mechanisms to report discrimination and harassment, including the development of a new dignity at work policy, and launching the community parenting strategy, which improved support for children and young people with care experience. To ensure our report approach remains innovative and evidence-based, we will continue to be guided by data and maximise the benefits of emerging technologies underpinned by robust ethical standards. We will also broaden collaboration with communities and businesses to help shape a shared vision for a fairer, more equal Newport. I'd also like to thank the Strategic Equalities Group, including member champions, for their continued support in advancing the Council's equality work across services and communities, and for ensuring compliance with statutory duties under the Equality Act. Rydyn yn cydnabod bod mwy o waith i'w wneud, bod bynnag rwy'n hyderus bod y sefle rydym wedi gosod yn cefnogi'r gweledigaeth ar y cyd ar gyfer Casnewydd Decach, mwy cyfartal I bawb. We recognise that there's still much more work to be done, yet I'm confident that foundations we have laid will support our shared vision for a fairer, more equal Newport for everyone. So I ask the Council to approve the annual report prior to publishing on the Council's website. Diolch yn fawr.
Second motion. Oh, it's not the motion, it's the report, sorry. Right. Anyone wants to speak on the report? All those in favour? Oh, sorry, sorry, you did say yes. Sorry.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I was particularly pleased to see that the Council has white ribbon accreditation. Since the Cabinet Member didn't mention it, I just want to call attention to the white ribbons, ambassadors and champions scheme. I signed up to be a champion last night. I know that there are 51 councillors in this chamber. I would really love to see 51 ambassadors and champions because it's everyone's responsibility. Thank you. Actually, one more thing. Had the police turned up, I would have asked them to explain what the Domestic Violence Disclosure Scheme, i.e. Clare's Law, is and what they would do to promote it. I would really like to see the Council as an organisation, but also all councillors in this chamber, promote Clare's Law to make sure that if you're worried about the risk a current or former partner could cause you, or the current or former partner of a friend or family member, you can go to Gwent Police and ask them if there's anything that you ought to know of that nature in that person's background. So please promote that as well.
Okay, it might be, sorry. It's on this, is it? Yeah, okay. Leader?
Happy to support that, happy to promote that, happy to work with you to make that happen.
Yeah, it's a good question actually to ask the Superintendent when he's here next Council. Okay, all those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? No, that's carried. Thank you very much. There's this humming at the moment. I don't know what it's about. It's a big bee in here somewhere, I think. But no, I can't. I can't do anything about it. So, sorry? Well, go and catch him then, Mr. Rheoli. What have you been on? Right. Let's move on, shall we? Item 10, dog control, PSPO, Councillor Forsey. Okay.
Thank you, Presiding Member. This report requests Council approval to renew the Public Space Protection Order for dog control, originally enacted in November 2022 and lapsed on the 16th of November 2025. Members are asked to consider renewal following a public consultation and review by the Performance Scrutiny Committees. Consultation findings are included in the committee report attached. The renewal order will largely follow the previous version with some key amendments which I will highlight. The PSPO aims to prevent individuals or groups from engaging in antisocial behaviour that negatively impacts the quality of life within a given location. This order is focused on control and management of their dogs by their owners or handlers, with open spaces managed by Newport City Council. This includes playing areas, sports courts and pitches during the playing season, cemeteries and green infrastructure such as highway verges, public footpaths and cycleways. It requires dog owners to be in control of their animals and remove faeces and to respect the enjoyment of other legal users on certain sites and certain times of the year. The order as presented to Council in 2022 has been amended with the addition under Section 6 that requires any person in control of a dog to keep it on a lead within the vicinity of livestock. This amendment reflects pending legislation regarding the control of dogs on roads near livestock, which includes horses. Additionally, changes have been made to designated areas due to updated mapping. For example, Preliminaries Park, the extended play area within the splash port, will now exclude dogs to allow families to enjoy the site without dogs present, as will all the other new play areas, including Blackash Park and Kelly Road. The public consultation was carried out and key groups and stakeholders were engaged at the outset. The consultation period ran from July to September, and an analysis of the consultation was presented to Scrutiny Committee in October. 253 responses were received, with the majority supporting the order. The committee was informed that there were widespread calls for greater enforcement, with many suggesting that the order should be enforced more rigorously. Feedback also indicated the need to improve public campaigns on the proper disposal of dog waste, as well as to increase publicity on the necessity of keeping dogs off pitches during the playing seasons to protect children. The comments relating to the use of sports pitches by dogs strongly suggest a correlation with the rise in female participation of field sports, especially football and rugby. The Performance Scrutiny Committee for Partnerships recommended clearer, more accessible signage and diverse communication methods to improve the enforcement of the order. They emphasised using pictograms and visuals for those facing language, technology or learning barriers, and suggest regular public education campaigns involving schools, community groups and vet clinics to promote dog ownership and awareness of the order. All of these recommendations have been taken on board as requested by the committee. My recommendation to the Council to support a new dog control order for 2025, including the additional sites and alignment with the livestock protection legislation. The order covers control levels set in public spaces, excludes dogs from certain areas, enables enforcement, legislates for public health benefits through the removal of faeces on public land and the exclusion of dogs on marked playing pitches. The order includes relevant exclusions and definitions. For example, the service and guide dogs are permitted as before. Thank you.
Councillor Forsey, is there a seconder? Anyone want to speak on it? Councillor Fairweather.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. I'm more than happy to support this very important policy. However, as someone that wanders around the city, you cannot fail to notice the amount of dog waste that's on the pavements, which is not policed. And I think really that, in a way, we are putting false hope for residents, in that we don't have the means to police this. We don't have the means to keep these dogs off the playing fields. We don't have the means to stop the people allowing their dogs to foul on the pavements. And believe me, as somebody who's upset his wife by treading dog muck through the house, you know, it happens. So I'm just wondering, how many people have actually been fined for allowing their dogs to foul on the pavement? And do we have the means to actually do this and to drive this forward? Otherwise, it's great in a policy and it's great words, but it's not going to mean very much.
Councillor Howells.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I do agree with Councillor Fairweather in terms of enforcement. Members might recall, raise the issue with the Superintendent at the last meeting in terms of enforcement. We raised the issue with the local CSOs at our ward meeting who knew absolutely nothing about this and didn't know it existed, and that's why I raised the issue with the Superintendent last time around, who said that training happens in the force and officers are aware of it, but in reality his parting shot was we don't really have the resource to deal with it and it's not really a priority. And I'm paraphrasing his wording, but that's what I took from what he said. So I think I totally welcome the measure. We just need to try and do more to ensure this isn't a policy that's sat on the shelf for a couple of years until it's reviewed next time. We need to think about an action plan for implementation enforcement that really works, and education that goes along with that as well. I'm pleased to see that some of the extensions of powers for the wardens and the grave diggers and other sort of staff personnel that can now direct people to take some of those informal measures. I would really encourage the Cabinet member and her officers to work closely with the police to see how they are going to enforce this for us, because in reality it's police, environmental health officers and community safety wardens, and we have very few environmental health officers and community safety wardens, so we're relying on our partners to enforce it, and we need to see how we can enable and make sure that happens properly when it needs to. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. It's just a drafting error. If you look at the actual Appendix A, the proposed order, and you go down to person in charge, it's only men who have dogs, according to this particular order. So if that can be sorted out and changed to the people who own the dogs. But as the last councillor spoke, I must say in St Julian's, the litter people do a really, really good job of cleaning up after the dog mess. I'm sorry it's there, but I must give praise to the litter pickers, or whatever you want to call them, in St Julian's. Have you got it, Mr. Legal Officer?
He's looking at... We'll change that anyway, obviously.
Hymns should go to people.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else wants to speak on this? I think it's interesting what Councillor Hearing said that people got to pick it up, but it's the responsibility of the owners really to pick it up, not our officers, if you think about it. It might be interesting as well, maybe we can put something, and maybe I'm speaking of return here, in something in Newport Matters about it, because it goes to everybody's house to make sure that we're taking this seriously, and people got a responsibility. Right, can we vote on this then? All those in favour? Any against? Did you want to speak, Councillor Mayor? It's a voting now, it's a bit late, isn't it? Oh, his hand's down anyway. And all those against? Any abstentions? No, that's carried then. Thank you very much indeed. We move on now to item 11, Democratic Services Committee Annual Report 2024-2025. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, President Member. I'm pleased to present the 2024-25 Democratic Services Committee Annual Report to the Council. The Local Government Wales Measure 2011 requires a committee to report annually to the Council on the work that it has carried out in the past 12 months and its future work programme. The committee is a politically balanced group which works together in a non-partisan manner to consider various aspects of the Constitution and other matters that impact on the governance of the Council. The annual report highlights the important work carried out by the committee last year. We met on 3 occasions during the reporting period. Each of these meetings were held on a hybrid basis where participants have the choice to join remotely or attend in person. During the reporting period, the committee reviewed and recommended amendments to the Council's constitution, focusing on standing orders for the Council meetings and contract standing orders. Throughout the year, the committee maintained oversight of its forward work programme, ensuring the ongoing review of resources for democratic services and planning for the future priorities. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the committee members for their work during this period and look forward to delivering the work programme of the committee during 2025 and 2026. Beside the member, I move acceptance of the Democratic Services Committee Annual Report.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to that? Thank you, Councillor Hoovereen. Right. Anyone want to speak on that? No. Right. We move to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? Right. We move. It's carried. Thank you very much indeed. We move on to item 12 now. Head of Democratic Services Committee Annual Report 2024-25.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I am pleased to present the Head of Democratic Services Annual Report. Under Local Government Wales Measure 2011, the Democratic Services Committee is required to keep under review the provision of staff, accommodation and other resources made available to the Head of Democratic Services to ensure that these adequate resources are provided for the responsibilities of the post. This annual report provides an outline of the resources made available in support of these functions, so that the committee can fulfil its responsibilities under the measure. The Democratic and Electoral Services Manager is the designated Head of Democratic Services and fulfils this statutory role in accordance with the requirements of the 2011 measure. The Democratic and Electoral Service Manager is responsible for discharging the statutory role and responsibilities of the Head of Democratic Services under the measure and is responsible for the management and supervision of all staff within the governance and scrutiny teams. This report was received by the Democratic Services Committee in October and provides assurances that the Head of Democratic Services has adequate resources available to him to discharge his statutory duties. Presiding Member, I move acceptance of the Head of Democratic Services Annual Report.
Is there a seconder to that? Councillor Hoovereen, thank you very much indeed. Anyone want to speak on that report? Right. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you very much indeed. Right, we move on to item 13. Councillor Corton.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'm pleased to introduce the, I better put my glasses on, interim review of polling places and polling districts. This report seeks Council's approval on proposed amendments to our current polling places and districts following a comprehensive consultation and review by the Electoral Services team. Regular reviews of our polling places and districts are a legal requirement and ensure our polling arrangements remain accessible, suitable and compliant with legislation. Our aim is to make voting as easy and as fair as possible for all electors, especially those with accessibility needs, and to take action to resolve issues where buildings and venues are no longer available to use as polling stations. We consulted a wide range of stakeholders as part of this review: residents, local accessibility groups, elected members, MPs, MSs, political parties and the area returning officer all had an opportunity to contribute. Feedback was received on 24 polling places, leading to proposed changes for 13 of them. The proposals include 2 additional polling venues, changes of venue for 8 polling places, 4 due to permanent closures, and the merging of 2 polling districts into 1 polling place. There is also a realignment of the arrangements in 2 polling districts to ensure households are allocated to the nearest polling place. No changes are proposed to the polling district boundaries other than minor anomalies within districts that have been identified and corrected. I would like to draw your attention to 2 updates in the information contained in the appendix that has been shared on page 279 of your papers. The 14 Knox Canal Centre is not closed and remains open. However, as the room previously used as a polling station is very small, the change of venue to the larger Scout hut is more appropriate to support the electorate numbers in the area. This does not change the outcome of the proposed changes. And secondly, in the row below, it is stated that the 14 Lock Centre is not in the Roderstone North Ward, which is incorrect. Again, this is a matter for correction and does not change the outcome of the proposed changes in any way, and I understand the relevant councillors have been notified about this. My recommendation is to approve the proposed changes, ensuring our polling arrangements are robust and accessible. These changes will be made prior to the regular publication of the updated electoral register in December. I commend this report to the Council and ask for your support in approving these important changes.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder? Leader, thank you very much indeed. Anybody want to speak on this? Councillor Fairweather.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. I'd just like to thank the Cabinet Member for the report. It's a good report. However, what I would say is, where possible, I know it's difficult, can we please do away with porter cabins and try and find places that have better access for the whole of the community, and that includes places where people can actually park, nip in, nip out and go.
Anybody else wants to speak on? Councillor Howells.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Just a point of clarification, really. Would it be normal practice for the polling station to be in the ward that it would be counting votes for?
Do you want to speak on that?
I believe it would be normal practice, but it doesn't have to be.
Only because the proposed change to the Excelsior Club, from the Excelsior Club to the Flying Start surgery, the Flying Start surgery then goes into our ward, and it's right on the boundary of the wards. And the street that goes down there, I forget the name of it, on the one side of the street is Llywodreth Ward, and on the other side of the street is the Victoria Ward, and it might be something just to be mindful of in terms of confusion about where people go, and that's the only reason for raising it, just because it's right on the boundary and it might have some confusion. So,
okay, that's noted, isn't it, really? Thank you. All those, unless there's anybody else who wants to speak on it, all those in favour? Right. All those against? Any abstentions? I move it's carried. Thank you very much. Right, we move on to item 14. Questions to the Leader. Cleans and announcements.
Thank you, Presiding Member. A few announcements. I'd just like to thank every councillor who attended our community parenting strategy launch, which was in Committee Room 7. It places our care leavers at the heart of the strategy and places them at the heart of our community and everything this council does. We want to work with the wider community to support children under the care system as they transition into independence, as they turn 18. We also recognise care experience as a protected characteristic, and this new strategy builds on this with specific commitments about how we ensure that our children in care and care leavers get the best possible support as they transition to adult life, which I'm sure all of us agree. I'm happy to announce our first consultation event for our No One Left Behind Fund in Dufferin on the 1st of December. I encourage all residents to attend, led by this initiative led by Councillor Hughes and Councillor Mark Howells. It's a pilot of £500,000 into the community of Dufferin to support those individuals and groups from the grassroots up, not from the top down. And it's important that residents attend, express their views, as their views are all important about how we support that community and those residents in their daily lives. So I look forward to our residents attending that. So we might see on our social media and other media our leisure centre update and how that's progressing. Two pools and a lazy river. I still get people saying to me there are no pools. Not only there's no pools, there's 2 of them. It's the first fossil-free mixed-use leisure centre, and that's to be welcomed. It's a large-scale project. Obviously, every time we build on the riverfront or anywhere near the river, we find things. Luckily, this time it's not another ship, although another ship would have been in some ways add to our rich cultural tradition. However, it's very tricky to deal with, get it excavated, and would have delayed the project. We did, I understand, find some holding walls. Councillor Corn will correct me on that, but we still hope to deliver that project in the autumn of next year. Transport bridge is also progressing well. Still, as we go through each piece, we find more. We're such an old structure, which I know all of us, all reasonable people understand. We're such an old structure. As we start to go through it, we find more and more issues. But still, as I understand on the budget, it's complex work, and but it's progressing well. Some people might have noticed going past Strategol Park, there's some work side on the lodge, turning that into a cafe to support the great work around our splash park and the wider play facility for our children in that area. So look out for that with the new cafe, Strategol Park Cafe. You might have noticed our roads being resurfaced of our extensive road programme. I see eyebrows raised. Is it quick enough? Is it as fast as we like in terms of all the roads we do covered? No, but we are cracking on with it. £6.6 million invested. And if we hopefully get any more money, we will invest more. We understand it's an irritant to residents. We want those roads resurfaced. We all get those emails, and I'm determined as leader to prioritise that programme. And Councillor Rheoli always bends my ear, ensuring that they get maximum money for that area. Fly tipping, hot topic for the Council and many residents. I know, just to pleased to report, an uptick in our enforcement against these crimes with local perpetrators, but really, really frustratingly from people outside the local authority area who think it's fine to come in, drive into Newport, dump their waste, and then drive out. We're all putting out more enforcement. We're actually putting more social media stuff, highlighting those individuals that we catch, so to put that deterrence out, and also hidden cameras to start catching out those persistent fly tippers who also go to persistent areas that we know they always go to, particularly in our rural wards, and I know many rural representatives here. We're also seeing reductions in our fly tipping from this year. July to September, we saw a 24% reduction in fly tipping incidents, which is progress, but not as much progress as we would like, and all residents, I know, would like to see, but we're on it. Pop-up recycling in different wards as well to encourage and make it more convenient for residents to recycle. We're also still looking for a second site of recycling full stop at the east of the city, because as we grow and we're exponentially growing, we need more facilities to make it more convenient for residents to dispose of the waste in the correct manner. The big AI investment zone announcements, £10 billion from UK government, from Newport to Bridgend, an investment in Newport, an investment in South Wales, and a real commitment from UK government, the UK Labour government in South Wales. I see Councillor Al-Namami laughing. I didn't laugh at £10 billion investment to our residents and to our city, and I think that's a great announcement. Next year for our events, we have the new comedy Casnewydd. Comedy? Oh, you're going to announce it, sorry, it's in my notes. The resurgence of the Newport Music Trail, because Newport, its culture is everything. It's our USP vis-a-vis Cardiff and Bristol, many areas, and it's something we should celebrate and enhance, and I'm really pleased to announce, sorry a bit early, that we will be doing those events next year, which I'm sure, again, everyone welcomes, and everyone will be pleased to know. That's it for me.
Thank you, Leader. Right, we'll move on to the first questions to the Leader, and the first one is from Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Presiding Member. In 2008, we set about introducing an award ceremony to celebrate the achievements of staff and residents across the city. The first year was a tremendous success, and I can recall sitting next to the lady who cleaned the toilets in Newport Market for over 30 years and had never received anything. By 2012, the event was being held at the Celtic Manor, fully sponsored by local businesses, only too pleased to recognise excellence. Sadly, when Labour came back into power, they first downgraded the event and then stopped it altogether. It was a real shame, as it was a non-political function which brought out the best in people. I'm sure we could all think of staff and members of our community who go the extra mile to nominate. So will the Leader of the Council give serious consideration to bringing back the Extra Mile Awards?
Thank you to Councillor Evans for his question. Of course, we all value our staff, and those staff in particular go the extra mile. We do have an Employee Value Awards. I know the Chief Executive goes, and it's nominated by teams and individuals, and they're all celebrated at an event. And then there's a big nomination at the end where the employees themselves recognise their own outstanding employee of that cohort, which we all welcome, and I'm sure we all support. In terms of the Extra Mile Awards, always happy to consider new awards where it recognises employees that go the extra mile. I must admit, in the age of austerity and the age of quite right scrutiny on public finances and employees in the public domain, even be it private businesses sponsoring, having dinner in the Celtic Manor probably isn't the most appropriate setting.
I think the Leader of the Council has completely misunderstood the whole point of having this, and he didn't mention about residents in our city at all. We all know of residents, and to be honest, to have a meal, a three-course meal in a luxury place, rather than going down to some local place and having a cold sausage roll, was exactly the point of this measure. And so if you say we haven't got money in a £400 million budget or whatever it is, and austerity, well, I'm sorry, this is about members of our community. This is about staff recognising them, not with a £10 voucher or something like this, an evening to remember and experience a nice presentation by the Mayor or the Leader of the Council or the Leader of the Opposition, and it is something which was valued. And I still get stopped by people in the streets nowadays who recognise that. That lady from Newport Market never been recognised. So this is something which costs absolute peanuts. If you want to talk about saving money, last Friday, the gritters were going around in Alterinne, very nice, except there was no severe weather warning. So how much did that cost? That probably cost as much as the entire event would cost, and I say it became cost neutral. So please reconsider, not just about the staff, it's about our residents across the city who do such a fantastic job.
Thank you. We will disagree on whether employees should be partying in the Celtic Manor, but if the Conservatives wish to push that position, I do support all our community residents who are doing an amazing job. I was at the Gavro Awards, where I presented an award to the amazing volunteers across this city, and it was a joy to behold. And I think it's more appropriate for other organisations outside of the Council to support and celebrate those wonderful. But if we can work together to find a compromise or find a solution where we celebrate wonderful members of our community or staff, always up for that conversation.
Right, we move on. Thank you for that. We move on now to the next question. It's from Councillor Reeks.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Newport City Council has a record of supporting businesses into the city centre, bringing in many big names over the years, as well as facilitating and being involved with popular events to support the traders, such as the Food Festival and the recent Christmas light switch-on, which saw the streets packed with people. However, there are many small businesses outside of the city centre which also need support for various reasons in these challenging times. For example, the Dura Cymru Drinking Water Pipes Upgrade project in Rogerstone, with its temporary road closures, has led to significant reductions in passing trade for two local businesses, the 14 Lots Canal Centre and the Premier Store, both of whom have seen a reduction in footfall of over 50%. When previously asking about support for these struggling businesses from the Council, I was told that We haven't done anything like this before. Whilst acknowledging that we haven't supported businesses affected like this before, it is important that we look to support all of our businesses across the city to ensure growth and the betterment of the local and wider community. Can I ask the leader to set up a process where local businesses affected by circumstances out of their control, such as the ones in Rogerstone, can discuss this situation and agree, if possible, a mechanism of direct support, thereby showing all the businesses of Newport that we as a council are serious about promoting the growth of the city as a whole? Thank you.
Thank Councillor Reeks for that question. We, of course, support all businesses, not just in the city centre. I think the response quoted related to the council compensating those for when utility companies come in and do work. If the council, whoever's in charge, accepted that as a direct, I think it's a direct mechanism to support those businesses affected, then any utility company, be it water, be it internet or fibre optics, in theory a business could come to the council, the taxpayer in effect, and ask for compensation. And we would have to be really cautious of that. We wouldn't want to put the taxpayer as the automatic, basically, insurance policy for all the utility companies just digging up the ground. And sometimes they don't inform the council they're about to do it. It's deeply frustrating for us, and I'm sure it's deeply frustrating for those businesses, because I can well imagine seeing a footfall drop in these tough times is very, very annoying, to say the least. But I'm happy to have a continual discussion. I'm sure, Councillor Clark, we want to show those businesses outside the city centre that we do support them. There is advice. We do provide advice. And I believe there are grants available. But if the mechanism is not clear to those businesses and we can work on that, we'll always work on that.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Thank you, Leader. Yeah, you're quite right. The utility companies do have these mechanisms in place, and the businesses involved are obviously talking with due company. I just feel that we as a council can possibly look at each case each business on a case-by-case basis and see whether there is an opportunity for us to support them in terms of rates or anything like that, so that we're seen as a listening council.
We're always a listening council, and we'll sit down, Councillor Clark and I, with yourself and have a discussion. But as I say, I don't want to make the taxpayer the insurance policy of what utility companies do. It's not fair on the taxpayer.
Thank you for that. Now, number 3, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. Does the Leader agree with the UK Government's decision to abolish police and crime commissioners?
Yes, it's part of a wider landscape of police reform, but that's not to diminish the great work local PCCs have done, including the current incumbent, and supporting the charities they've supported and the community groups they've supported over many years, and previous incumbents as well, for including safer streets for young people to go in, and winter safer streets as well is going to come forward, and the Children's Charter recently launched. But the overall UK is part of an overall police reform, but I support the UK government's moves.
Supplementary?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. Well, at least we agree on something, Leader, because I also support getting rid of police and crime commissioners, because I believe they were a mistake, but they also politicised, in my opinion, our police service. Now, many people will think that, you know, we just have a police and crime commissioner and a deputy, and that's all it costs. But it's not. It's much more than that. It's all the staff and all the admin they bring with them. Thousands and thousands of pounds in extra costs which are added to people's council tax bills every year under the police precept. So, as a final question to you, what is the way forward, do you think? Should we go back to a police authority, or should we find Jane Mudd a new job as the Mayor for South East Wales?
I think I was a bit then, to be honest. Leader.
I think that's up for discussion, and I think there'd be a Welsh solution for holding the police to account. I think the UK government referenced where mayors don't exist, that local authority leaders will be responsible for that. Whoever holds this position in the future when PCCs do go, I think they have so much on their plate to hold the police to account by themselves as an individual is a lot to ask, because as we've discussed before, while the police aren't here, there's lots of pertinent issues that affect lots of people across this chamber. And I don't think that should be kept to an individual. That's my personal opinion. I think we need a proper mechanism. I'm open for that discussion, but I think there should be a Welsh solution to that. And I know those discussions are happening locally with the current incumbents of PCC as well to find a solution. But I did note the Conservative government brought in police and crime commissioners.
Right, that was lead us to the council. Okay, thank you very much. Right, we move on now to item. Sorry, I've dropped my paper. Sorry. Is it, that's one. Right. Okay. Right. Question to the Cabinet Member for Education and Early Learning, Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Is there any truth in the rumour that some Newport schools have had pork products removed from their menus? If so, can you please give this Council the details and any action you have taken to stop this?
Thank you. The answer is straightforward. Pork was a meal option on school menus only last week. And I would argue that processed food, which contains so many chemicals and preservatives, should be reduced as part of our offer, as we are prioritising healthy eating and nutritious menus in our schools. In the current climate, some might find a hidden inference behind the rumour. And I feel I need to remind this chamber that we do not tolerate division or intent to undermine community cohesion. Going forward, perhaps we all also need to treat rumours and misinformation that we find on social media with the scepticism that they frequently deserve. Thank you.
Well, I'm relieved, and the whole point of me bringing it here, you've missed the point entirely. It's because there is lots of rumours on social media, and we have a duty to make it public. This is why I brought it to a public thing, because, you know, I've seen these cases on social media. There was a case recently of a school in Sutton Coldfield, where the school had to apologise because banning pork on a school trip was an unfortunate human error. So something that happened, that made national news within days. There was a school in Cardiff, Mount Stewart Primary School, where pork was taken off the menu. So these are actual cases, and so it's important that we have this discussion and debate. I understand the rationale behind saying pork and processed meats and ham and stuff like that, but I hope we're not getting to a stage where we can't debate these issues, because if we're not debating these issues in public places, if you're demeaning the comments which you see, then that is a concern to me, because the whole point is we should be united together against these rumours on social media, because it is important that we dispel these rumours. It's important we bring them to here, and it's important we know how we're going to deal with them in future, because there will be more and more rumours. There will actually be truth. There are occasions now where, for instance, some of the members of the farming community get concerned about people wanting to ban meat altogether. That's a debate we need to have within this chamber about how we manage, how we handle that. And we need to also ensure that you know, Johnny is able to have his ham sandwich or ham and cheese toasty when he, if he wants to. Oh, sorry, do you agree?
I just need to repeat that pork isn't off the menu within our schools. Rumour and speculation is rumour and speculation. What we deal with is stop that misinformation by checking the facts. And those facts can be clarified by contacting our education authority. We don't need speeches in this chamber. We just check the facts.
We do.
All right, move on now. Councillor Montford.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I've got 3 questions. Can you tell me which one you want me to do first?
Well, the one I got now is for the education and early years.
I'll take a punt, because this was the first one I put in.
Yeah, that's
I understand. Dear Cabinet Member, through the Chair, I understand that yourself, as Cabinet Member covering education, and the Leader have taken the opportunity to visit every primary school in Newport during 2024-2025. I haven't fact-checked that, but I believe it to be true. Having spoken to a number of primary school staff, and parents in my role as a school governor, ward councillor, I've been asked to establish the outcomes of the exercise and any follow-up actions raised as a result of these primary school visits. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. As Cabinet Member for Education Early Years, it's very much within my remit and role to visit schools.
I'm a bit confused here because you've got a question on the bottom of there now, so I'm not sure.
Oh, yes,
right,
that's...
you know, I'm giving you extra here now, mind.
Thank you, Presiding
This
Member.
Christmas, okay?
Right. My question is, if you want
Right.
what specific data and information have you gleaned from this extended exercise relating specifically to primary schools? Is there a report you could share or point to that captures the observations, outcomes and actions from this extended exercise? Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll start again. As Cabinet Member for Education Early Years, it's very much within my remit and role to visit schools. I'm dismayed and, in fact, completely bemused by such a strange question. Surely, if I was failing to visit schools, you'd be standing here this evening holding me to account, as would my colleagues on this side of the floor. To be effective in my role, it's critical that I'm familiar with schools and the context they're working in. Visiting school sites allows me to see the best practice and understand the challenges school leaders and their staff face on a daily basis. I've systematically visited schools across the city for many years, and it's only in the last year that the leader has joined me. Head teachers have consistently told me and the leader that they appreciate this contact. They said that they feel listened to and supported throughout our visit schedule. Visiting schools is not about collecting data. That's the information that's collected by officers utilising specific systems and processes, ensuring I can consider education data trends and how individual schools perform within Newport. School visits brings that data to life and provides clarity and an understanding of the issues that I am asked to consider. I regularly share my school visit experiences with school leaders, with other senior leaders in education services. Officers are then able to follow up each of the requests from individual head teachers. This is one of the reasons why the leader and the Cabinet gave an additional £1.2 million to schools last year. This funding allowed individual schools to be able to complete some of their maintenance work, improve the environment for learners, to support other priorities aligned to their specific needs. This was a highly successful "you said we did" scenario. The visits also allowed me to acquire first-hand information to present to colleagues in the Senedd, who also have provided additional funding. The information I have shared has also helped to lead to policy reviews and consideration of future legislation. Finally, there's one very important report that I'd like to draw your attention to. The December 2025 Education Service Estin report clearly articulated how our leaders in Newport know their schools. Recognising this has enabled support in the most appropriate way. To conclude, school visits are purposeful, meaningful and a valuable aspect of my role. And to any head teacher listening, I look forward to your invitations. It's always a positive to my working week if it includes a school visit. Thank you.
Supplementary.
Of course, I feel nervous about asking my next questions then. I don't know why you're so touchy about the question. It actually gives you an opportunity, and the leader, to shine. The fact that you went round the schools in such a high-profile way, and the leader told me, we had a meeting, and he told me he was going around every school, including the schools in my ward. And I think that's absolutely fantastic that you went round together. I think it's fantastic that the MP goes round the school. And I don't know why you're getting so aggressive about the question. It's a fair question, and it gives you an opportunity to shine. Unfortunately, you didn't.
Can I just come in quickly? Calling women aggressive is something that men do quite often to women who are assertive. Now, as a white ribbon champion, I am calling out misogyny where I see it. There was no need for that.
All right, you've made your point. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, okay. Shall we move on? Right. Please, stop talking against the... Bill, please, behave. Thank you. You've been good just so far tonight. Right, shall we move on now? Councillor Bev Davis.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'd like to ask the Cabinet Member for Education and Early Years, how is Newport continuing to promote good attendance in school post-COVID, and is that working?
Thank you very much, Councillor Davis.
Just say the time is up now for questions, right? I would suggest, though, maybe putting that in writing and sending it to all members.
I will. Thank you.
Okay.
I know there's a time limit, but why do we take so many questions if there's no chance of them actually being answered here in this place? It seems a bit pointless. Either we put a longer time on it, or, you know, we say we limit the number of questions that could be asked. It really isn't acceptable that now the remaining members can't ask their question here today.
Yeah, well, maybe this is something we can put to the leaders when we meet on the leaders, but what is here at the moment is these are the questions asked, and I got to go by that. Maybe when we meet as a leaders group, maybe we can mention about whether you want to extend it or not. You know, that's something we can do as a full council. Okay.
If I might, Presiding Member, as we started to debate this, obviously there is an easy option. It's for the Conservative group to put in less questions. But the other option is for them to use the anytime question, and they can have all their questions answered every day of the month, and not seek to get greater publicity here than they deserve.
Okay, Councillor Hugh, but I suggest... No, we're not getting into the debate
I would have
now.
responded by saying clearly the Labour Party didn't have to put in questions either, but I'm not going to do that. Let's keep it calm. Thank you very much.
We know what... You know the questions that are not asked can be put in writing anyway. That's part of it. But obviously, if they want to speak, well, we can look at it again. But all I'm saying is that's what it is now. If you haven't got time, you can put it in writing and get an answer for it, okay? Thank you very much. Right, we move on now to... well, where I'm moving on now. That's all the questions are gone, so you've thrown me now. Right. Sorry? Regeneration and... Right. Councillor Fairweather.
Thank you. I was just looking at which question it was. Will the council be investing heavily in the city centre? In the city centre, similar to that seen in other UK cities such as Wine Street in Swansea,
Thank you, Councillor Fairweather. I just need a bit of clarity on heavily. What figure, when you say invested heavily, what figure are you using here, Councillor Fairweather? Okay, thank you. Well, there's my answer then. Okay, I think sort of, and thanks for the question. The town and city centre regeneration is a priority for not just Newport, Swansea, as you've mentioned, but all towns and cities across the country. And a decline in demand for retail on a high street due to online shopping, which is obviously happening now, and the consequences of the UK government's 1990s policy towards out-of-town retail parks. It is a national issue and something which is recognised through the Welsh Government's Town Centres First policy. We've got a new placemaking plan developed in a cross-party collaboration, sets out the Council's 15-year strategy for the city centre, and less than 6 months after its adoption, I'm pleased to see that some schemes have already been delivered. In the city centre today, commercial occupancy is at its highest level in a decade, which have strong footfall driven by a year-round calendar of quality events, and nearly 150 additional small businesses have chosen to make the city centre their home since we exited the pandemic. These are strong figures which Newport can be proud of, and I would suggest we're back in a national trend. We aim to continue to broaden and grow the city centre economy. Leisure, culture and housing are realistic alternatives for underused buildings and land in our city centres. And the regeneration and business support teams work daily to support and complement our valuable small and independent businesses and provide the advice and funding that they need to sustain. Regeneration isn't quick, it isn't easy, and it isn't cheap. There is a real cost to delivering big hitting projects, and capital funding needs to be balanced with demands in providing new schools and social care for our ever-growing population. But we're doing a good job. I think we're quick to forget the multi-million-pound investments which have been undertaken or in development in Newport at this moment. We have the successful Newport market, which has put Newport on the map and draws people from far and wide to experience everything it has to offer. Market Arcade received Welsh Government grant funding, and the Council and Welsh Government have supported the delivery of the 4-star Mercure Hotel in the city centre. Development is already underway on the new leisure centre, as mentioned, project which has seen over 10 million of Welsh Government Transformation Towns grant funding awarded towards it. This development, as we all know, has unlocked the former Newport Centre site, which plans an advance of the new city centre campus for Coleg Gwynedd, which will see the delivery of a scheme worth in excess of £80 million and bring thousands more into the city every day. And we've just reopened our grant scheme to allow smaller projects to bid for capital funding. This already has enabled the third phase of the development at the former King's Hotel. So in summary, and I'm sure there will be a question, but in summary, what I can say is Newport's listening. Only last week, myself and Emma Court spoke to business owners and business leaders, but importantly, we listened. We will continue to deliver transformation and city-centre projects, and will keep moving forward in all areas of investment for the 18-month period which is mentioned in the question.
Thank you, Mr Presiding Member, and thank you, Cabinet Member, for that comprehensive answer. And the reason I mentioned Wine Street in Swansea, that it's at a £3 million upgrade in 2021, and it included things that I think that our city centre miss out on. Decent granite paving, asphalt paving in the city, new open green spaces with trees and shrubberies, a general update to the street furniture, making Newport a more pleasant place to actually come into and enjoy. And it's, some of the things you've done down there are great, and I know that your heart is in what you're doing. But simply sometimes just dressing shops up with some fancy wrapping paper or having a couple of buskers really doesn't make that much difference. It helps, but it doesn't make that much difference. And what we really need to have is more investment in the city centre itself, in the street furniture, making it more pleasant so that people can come in. And well done on getting those empty units, shops into them. That's great news. I think everybody here would agree that we want to see a vibrant city centre, and that you get the events in there and things are moving, and doing your best to get the footfall up. But as I say, it's just getting those other things importantly done. Getting the paving right, getting this area looking nice, getting the trees in there.
Yeah, Councillor Fairweather, thank you for that. And, absolutely take your point. And what you're saying there is absolutely valid. What I would say is a couple of things you mentioned about the hoarding and the buskers, absolutely, but that's part of this 15-year plan. But we will progress. But what I would say, and I think this is where I'm encouraged, is Councillor Mulford, and this is how we can work together. In July last year, he was encouraged by the work in the city centre, and he said he was positive and reassured. And even yourself, Councillor Fairweather, last July mentioned, and this is why it's keen you mentioned it today, that you had seen improvements such as cleaning and fixing the stones. So if we can go on from that, absolutely we will.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jenkins.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I understand there are new footfall cameras in the city centre. Can you tell me more about the benefits of this new camera system and update me on footfall figures for the city, please?
Thank you, Councillor Jenkins. In March this year, as we know, the new footfall cameras were installed in 10 locations across the city centre, capturing footfall data in key locations. These new cameras were funded by the Shared Prosperity Funding and enable us to not only track pedestrian footfall, but the cameras can also see the difference between bicycles and different types of vehicles. We can extract data on an hourly basis for specific dates or monitor data across the whole month. For example, footfall data from the recent food festival over 2 days was just under 206,000. The ABP Newport Marathon in April was 207,500. And the countdown to Christmas was just under 164,000. which was up over 50,000 on the previous Saturday in November. So there's some figures there for you. The monthly footfall figures average around 1.85 million, with April seeing a figure of over 2 million. But whilst we are unable to compare these figures, because obviously it's just been installed, to previous use due to the change in the system, the figures we've got at the moment we believe are impressive, and they're evidence that people are visiting and using the Newport City Centre. But obviously next year, when we've got the whole figures, we've got comparisons. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. I've got Councillor Fairweather again. I didn't think they were
Cabinet member, this is a question I used to ask Bob Bright a lot.
Can you? It's going to be. You've got a minute and a half, mate, so you might not get an answer.
The Westgate Hotel in Newport is a powerful symbol of democracy and working class struggle in Wales because of its central role in the Newport Charter stepwise in 1839. The building is without question an important part of Newport's great history and heritage. Can the Cabinet member outline what actions have been taken by the Council to ensure the building is protected from any potential disrepair, damage or neglect?
Well done.
I'm happy to go over an extra minute just to answer this question, if that's agreeable. If time's tight.
You can't make exceptions to you, although I like you.
Okay, as we're all aware.
Be quick, please.
As we're all aware, the Westgate Hotel, as you mentioned, it's in private ownership. Sorry, you didn't mention, but it's in private ownership. I don't disagree that the hotel is an important part of the city's heritage, and we would all love to see it brought back into use. The building needs significant investment, and the condition of this listed building is regularly assessed by planning officers. Minor repairs and improvements to the building have usually been achieved through negotiation, but you may recall a report which was taken to the Planning Committee in January 2024, which authorised the issuing of urgent works notice. This notice was intended to address water ingress and open access to the building. Fortunately, the repair works was undertaken without the need to serve the notice, but we are all aware that enforcement action cannot be used to secure the reuse of the building nor fundamental renovation of it. But
you're going to have to...
Literally, this is it.
Come on,
Westgate
please.
has been recognised as an important part of the placemaking plan, which was adopted earlier this year, and I can confirm that we have been in lengthy discussions over recent months with both the freeholder and leaseholder of the building regarding the future plans. I'm expecting to continue these discussions into the new year.
You abuse me greatly. Right, questions to the Cabinet Member of Communication and Culture, Councillor Bright.
Thank you, Presiding Member. This year's City Centre events have been great so far. Can the Cabinet Member tell me what else is planned for this year, if anything's planned for 2026, please?
Thank you, Councillor Bright. Presiding Member, it's been a brilliant year for events in the City Centre with some genuinely exciting firsts. The Festival of Words, the Live Act Trail and the Newport Music Trail. As hotly trailed by the leader, I'm pleased to say that all of these events will return next year. The Music Trail is set to expand, taking in more locations and venues, including our city's beautiful cathedral. The lineup will be announced in the next few days. I've seen it and it's actually cracking, so I hope you all get a chance to come along. I've also had a sneak peek at some of the Festival of Words programme, and that's looking just as exciting. Today, we announced Comedy Casnewydd, a one-day free-entry comedy festival taking place at the end of January. I've already had some teasers about the acts, and with the official lineup coming out just after Christmas, a lovely way to start the new year. That will be swiftly followed by Lunar New Year event, St David's Day celebrations, the marathon. I could go on. The Food Festival was once again a huge success this year, with a huge footfall of nearly 206,000 over the 2 days, and we look forward to welcoming that back, along with the Sea Shanty Festival, which I'm told has 50 bands lined up to perform across the city centre in May. There are also some more exciting events that I, along with our excellent culture and events officers, am currently in talks about, and I look forward to sharing details of those with you as soon as I can. But before we get to that, on December the 6th, we'll be hosting a celebration of small businesses in the city centre, with giveaways and lots of other things going on. And I really hope that everyone in this room will get into the city centre and shop from one of our 300+ small indie businesses in Newport ahead of Christmas. We understand that these events are vital for reinvigorating the city centre, and alongside Councillor Clark, I'll keep pushing for more, working with partners to bring more events to the city where we can. But what's important about these events, and our whole approach to the city centre, is that we're not doing this for us. The city centre isn't about Councillor Clark, the leader or me. It's about revitalising the city centre to support the hundreds of retailers who rely on footfall and listening to residents to give them the events they want to see. So yeah, we are unapologetically going to keep bigging up the city centre while working hard with colleagues from other agencies and with business owners to tackle the challenges that remain. Let's hope over Christmas some of our colleagues across this chamber have a Scrooge-like epiphany and make a New Year's resolution to get into the city centre, pop into a Newport retailer, buy themselves some pom-poms and join us in supporting the retailers, the venues and the events. You see, it is possible to celebrate the good and support the problem solving. Huge thanks to all our partners, the businesses who get involved and to all the brilliant officers who work so hard to make these events happen. Our city centre really is better for you all being around.
Thank you. Councillor Pride? No. Right, we'll move on now to questions of the Cabinet Member of Climate Change and Waste and Recycling, Councillor Fowler. You've done your homework this time, haven't you?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. Cabinet Member, in October, Newport was named the fly tipping capital of Wales. What are your thoughts on this? And as a Cabinet Member, do you believe that you should take responsibility for this terrible slight on our city?
Thank you. Fly tipping is seen across England and Wales, and we've seen some really awful cases come to light recently. For example, the one in Oxfordshire, where there was an absolute mountain of rubbish. And I think we're all very happy to see someone's been arrested for that. Newport City Council proactively encourages and facilitates reporting by residents. In addition, it logs all proactive removals that our crews deal with, unlike many councils. Whilst this will generate a higher headline number, it provides better data to allow targeting. In the first full year of 3 weekly waste collection, we saw a 10% reduction in fly tipping, and this downward trend continues in 2025, with a 24% reduction for the period July to September when compared with the same period 2024. Newport is now the best performing authority for enforcement in Wales, based on the 24-25 data, and this has been driven by improved intelligence and use of new technology. We also regularly monitor correct waste presentation from households. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. Obviously, Cabinet Member, this is driven by policy from yourselves. Smaller bins, fewer waste collections, booking at the tip, the cost of bulky items, and now we have, if you look at your ward Facebook site, we have companies advertising to remove household waste. And some of these companies are not licensed and are dumping. Now just look at the news today of Pottery Terrace in Pill and quite how bad that's become. You know, people are having difficulty getting rid of their waste. Some people are lucky and they can afford to ask a private company to come and collect it and take it away from them, and they dispose of it properly. But others can't. And I think that you should revisit the policy around the size of the bins. And unless, of course, as in the past you've said, perhaps people are living too extravagantly.
I think if you take a small part of anybody's speech out of context and choose not to understand what they were saying, you're going to end up with a misleading message. But just to reiterate what I said just now, in the first full year of 3 weekly bin collections, we saw a 10% reduction in waste. The policies that we have are driving recycling. If you recycle properly, then there is no need to have excess waste anywhere. The last comment then, Pottery Terrace, as I also said just now, we're increasing our enforcement. We will be taking enforcement on Pottery Terrace, and I can't give any more information about that at the moment, but this will become apparent in due course. But really, what you should be doing is encouraging people to do their recycling, to reduce the environmental load of all of this waste that people are supposedly unable to deal with. You might have noticed that we had a huge litter pick on the weekend, and we picked up 67 bags of rubbish which had been done. A huge amount of that was cans and plastic, all of which could have been put in their red bag and picked up from their curbside. So there's absolutely no need to be taking it somewhere else and dumping it in the Reen. Put the cans and plastic in the red bag. So if you recycle properly, there'll be no need to have excess waste.
Thank you. Right, we move on to the next questions, and that's to the Cabinet Member of Assets and Infrastructure. Councillor Screen.
Diolch, Presiding Member. Just to ask the Cabinet Member, a few months ago the leader announced that approximately 250,000 of revenue funding will be made available for road safety schemes. Firstly, please can I wholeheartedly welcome the funding, which I believe will make a big difference within communities and address their road safety concerns year on year. Secondly, please could I ask for an update on the next steps for how this fund will be rolled out. Thank you.
Thanks, Presiding Member. Thanks, Councillor Screen, for asking that question, because this is a scheme we're quite proud of. I would say we requested and received a significant response from members on areas of concern in their wards, which I'd like to thank them for. We got a good uptake on response, and I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the leader for making this funding stream available. It wouldn't have been otherwise. We found the money for this. A particular benefit of this scheme is, whereas most road scheme funding is tied to strict third-party funding criteria, and so it often excludes many worthy road schemes, the leader and I were keen to ensure that with this fund there could be more flexibility in progressing the schemes in areas of concern. So that's a big advantage of this scheme. And to this end, officers have worked on a prioritisation criteria that allows for wider community benefits to be considered. So we're currently finalising the prioritisation of the potential schemes, and I would add that a lot of work has gone into that from officers as well. And once that's complete, we'll be able to confirm what schemes will be taken forward, and I'm expecting to be able to confirm this within the next week or so. Thanks.
No supplemental.
Thank you. Councillor Howells.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Cabinet Member, could you provide an update on George Street Bridge? That's having a significant impact, the diversion on our residents on Corporation Road. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that question as well. As regards the weight restriction on George Street Bridge, yeah, colleagues will recall this was unfortunately necessary because of surveys which showed some evidence of concrete degradation, with us needing to reduce the load on the bridge to keep it open for most traffic. So it is unfortunate. We've been progressing with the more detailed investigations that are necessary, and the on-site structural testing was completed on the 20th of November. These results need to be collated, with the interpretation of the testing being undertaken, and then a report will be provided to us. This report is anticipated to be completed mid to late January, and will provide us with the information we need to consider the next steps. But I fully appreciate the comments regarding Corporation Road being used as a diversion route. I would say officers have said they haven't received significant concern from the residents about it. So maybe there's a bit more discussion needed, because possibly we're not fully aware of what the implications are. They have been monitoring the situation down there, and they're going to continue to monitor the situation down there. But, you know, if there are particular issues that you want to raise with me and the officers, then we're very happy to have that conversation. But it's about knowing what the issues are, I suppose. Okay.
Thank you. We get concerns raised at board meetings since the closure, so we get regular concerns, so we will take the opportunity to share those with you. As an aside, some of those queries raised at our last monthly ward meeting last week were around whether the weight restriction applies to council bin lorries and waste saver lorries. Our residents report that they're the only heavy goods vehicles going over the bridge. Is that correct?
Don't know the answer to that. I'll have to find out, sorry. I don't know whether there's an exception for maybe undertaking statutory duties like that, but we can certainly get back to you and let you know.
Right, okay, that concludes the meeting. Item 16 is the date of the next meeting is on the 20th of January. Can I just apologise for the coldness in here again? I've just seen a mouse with a scarf on.
I thought you were going to apologise for your shirt, presiding member.
No, I'm proud of the shirt. Can I wish everybody a good Christmas, a happy Christmas, and just enjoy yourselves.